What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women, lovely UEC and Age of Empires 3 community? We're back with some more casted games. A lot of content for you guys. Also, a lot of tournament games today. Round of 32, round of 16. It's going to be quite an epic battle. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women. Self-double. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, hopefully you will be looking forward to this. And first game of today's series and today's stream will be Turtur, aka Gretchen's Doorway, versus Kynesie. Game number 1 of the UEC tournament. Let's begin. Welcome once again to the first game of the tournament of UEC. Currently we have Gretchen's Doorway playing versus Kynesie. Gretchen's Doorway, of course, known as Narita, also known as Tomato Plant. I'm sure you guys have heard of him before. Now playing on the left side of the map, Punjab. Going to gather his wood crates real quick. Also heading in his early Nilgai and heading straight towards the TP line, which is already a nice start. Really, really good to see maybe a potential trading post being built. Unique to the British now, the GMT card, something you can maybe see here from Gretchen's Doorway. We'll talk about him a little bit later on, but for now we're going to head over to the man of the match. I'm sure a lot of people are very hyped to see him. He's been around for so long. He's been here since the OG days, and here he is once again playing Japan, which is, funnily enough, one of his main civilizations. I've literally seen Kynesie play more Japan than I've seen him play Inca, which a lot of people do know him for playing. In this case, does find himself a nice wood treasure in his base. I think that was 30 wood, if we double check. 40 wood. So a really nice treasure for him to pick up. Is going to allow him to go very greedy, and greedy indeed. Getting the consulate, getting the marketplace, could potentially go for the Hinami parties. If we switch over to his side, he just needs the coin for it, I believe. He doesn't already have it already. I think he's already got it researched, and then the consulate going to be added as well, which he's going to build with a single villager. Also, on the river or riverbed, we have a lot of livestock that both players can pick up, and so far it looks like Kynesie's definitely done the better job. His rickshaw has been heavy to work. Already found himself a lot of those livestock animals, whereas Gretchen's Doorway only finding himself a single one, but his explorer was building the trading post towards the bottom. Check out the scouting for Kynesie already. He scouted pretty much half of the map with that rickshaw, with his 2 explorers, and now with the wood treasure that he did find, building himself a nice in the middle shrine. And if you ever watched Kaiser Klein's stream or cast games, you know he was commenting a lot when actually coaching, or I guess he was watching Animus Vox play Japan, and he had a lot to say about the shrine placement. And it's funny to see Kynesie being a Japan main. He literally puts the shrine straight in the middle, and it's very visible. Obviously, this is going to be passed by from the British players, so he's going to see the shrine fairly easily. But you can definitely see Japan, or Kynesie playing Japan, isn't really too conscious of that first shrine. Could, of course, place it somewhere over here, but it's going to decide for that middle shrine now, sending in the Heavenly Kami as well. So this card is known to be very good in terms of reducing the cost of shrines, and then also increasing gathering rates. So it's going to mean a real nice boom here. Nice treasure contestation. Think Kynesie actually got this. Kynesie getting the treasure as well. He didn't even lift a finger to kill a single macaque there. And on the other side, even picking up another treasure as well. So looking really good so far for Kynesie. Especially if you look at his base. I mean, he's got the consulate on the Portuguese. He's got 4 yaks. He's got berries, which he spawns with. He's got the Hanami parties out, as well as a single shrine. It's a really good start. And 100 food treasure. Looking really good here for Kynesie. Whereas, I mean, of course we know Gretchen's Doorway does have TP and could potentially send in the Age 1 GMT card. If we check out his deck, he doesn't actually have it in his deck. Just going to opt for the TP to most likely transition to the VC. But interesting game so far. If we look at the matchup here, Japan versus Brits. Usually a matchup where a lot of Japanese mains say that this is a very Brit favored. The reason why they say this is because they usually struggle a lot against the early pressure from Brits. So they usually struggle against the big mass potential of Gretchen's Doorway with the British civilization, with the eco that they, of course, use to afford that huge mass. And then they kind of have to hold their base in H2, which can be really hard. And then later on, it starts to be more Japan favored. I think it's 2 civilizations that you see here that just have very unique timings and their individual strengths, which of course is very obvious. H2 not coming in here for Gretchen's Doorway. 3 minute, I guess this was quite a slow age up if you think about it. Seems to me it was pretty slow, but I'm going to assume it was a 2-minute 45 age up, maybe a little bit later than that. So not the fastest. Of course, would have loved that 100 food treasure. Now in transition, 15 vills on the tree line. Obviously going to send in potentially his age 1 Virginia company. And with all of the wood that he's gathering, he's going to go ahead and build lots and lots of houses. H2 also coming in for Kynesie. Kynesie actually aging up faster than the British side. So you can definitely see something's not right here for Gretchen's Doorway. Aging up the Toshogu Shrine as well. And you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to chop enough wood as well to go ahead and build a few shrines in transition. And of course he wants to keep 6 vills or maybe 4 or 5 vills on food to train villagers during his age up. So it's very important for him that he doesn't put every single villager on wood. Otherwise he won't be able to sustain his villager production. And now with the Toshogu Shrine, which is going to boost his shrines. The Portuguese consulate, which is going to make his shrines cheaper with the Heavenly Kami card in age 1. He's ready, set to boom pretty much. Whereas Fish is always going to have to do a lot of work here. Let's get the minus 30. I'm actually curious to see how much a reduction this is now, because you have to remember they've actually changed Virginia Company in the last, or one of the last patches. So it's minus 45 wood cost, and it sets the build bounty to 18. So I think you get less XP for building it, and you still get the same amount of XP for killing it if you're Japan. So the manor house costs 135 normally, but now with the reduction it's 90 wood. Interesting. Now age up coming in from Gretchen's Doorway a little bit later does age up with the governor, so the 200 coin and the outpost. 9 vills on wood, switching some villagers onto food. Outpost going forward, and doesn't actually have enough wood to build a barracks in the early H2. So usually you would save enough wood to build a barracks here, but seeing as he's gone VC and he's booming heavily, he's going to build his barracks with the 700 wood that he's sending in. So this could, of course, leave him very prone, but it's also going to add to his eco. The fact that he's not using the wood to build a barracks and using it to make houses means that his eco is going to be a lot better. So his timing push that could come out in H2 is definitely on the way, and you can see Kynesie already preparing. He's building a wall, so he definitely doesn't want to be aggressive. He just wants to kind of clench and wait to see what happens. Kind of prepare for the worst case scenario. Sure to Kynesie sending in the coin first, or sorry, the coin second after the 600 wood. Very obvious. It's being placed all across the map. Top side. Gonna be very annoying for the British side if he wants to get this herd later on, which he's definitely gonna need. He's got a few hunts to work through, but you can already see there's a shrine here as well. So Kynesie steadily working towards really shutting down the food income here for Gretchen's Doorway, especially when it comes to a fight. Wondering when we're going to see the shrine over here. It's a really good play here from Kynesie, setting up for potential the aftermath of whatever fight breaks out. Barracks now being added with the 700 wood here for Gretchen's Doorway. And I mean, the great thing about Virginia Company here for Gretchen's Doorway, and it's something you see Revenite do quite a bit, is that he actually, when you have all the villagers out, when you go for like a, I don't know, maybe a max manor house boom at a decent time, you're not going to need any wood for your houses anymore, right? So that's something you need to keep in mind. And the fact that you might not need wood to build these houses anymore, seeing as you will be max pop, means that you can start training longbows, which is your best unit pretty much in H2, maybe next to the musketeer. So if this boom really kicks in for Gretchen's Doorway, and he has enough eco, he doesn't necessarily need to train musketeers and doesn't need to worry about those Yumi that maybe Kynesie will be training. But for now, I'm going to train some musketeers. Of course, they have high siege damage. It's going to take down some of these shrines, free some of these animals from the poor traps. Whereas if we switch over to Kynesie, what is he doing in the meantime? Actually stacking for an age up. Interesting. Not bad. I like this age up here for Kynesie. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you could stay H2, go full boomy. You can also go H3 and maybe go less boomy, but you still got fairly decent eco. Look at this. He's got 13 shrines with the Toshogu Shrine. And then all of the yaks that he found are now in the Toshogu Shrine as well. And then he can build even more in-base shrines because he's actually saved himself this hunt by not building the Toshogu Shrine on it. Genius here from Kynesie. And this is the first aggression here from Gretchen's Doorway. Literally, only a single taupe in the middle. And we kind of talked about this taupe being in a very awkward position. But maybe that was intentional from Kynesie. Maybe he set this taupe here on purpose to bait out this time, right? This is the same thing you see other players do when they burn down TPs, right? Your opponent will be aging, and then Kynesie will be like, I hope he burns down the trading post, or I hope he burns down the shrine, so I have more time to kind of boom or get my age up in and send in stuff. And exactly, aging up with the Shogunate, so that will give him the XP as well as the Daimyo. So H3, 300 XP, and a Daimyo Masamune, which does have an aura effect that improves the stats of his units. Yep, shrines definitely being nerfed multiple times in many patches. 1,300 HP now for these shrines, so they die quite fast. Actually, he's being trained here for Kynesie, double racks going up. I'd assume he switched his consulate to Japanese, but he actually still has his consulate on the Portuguese. That's really good. He's still going to get that reduction on his shrines if you see the cost of a single shrine. 75. Should actually be 63 if I'm not mistaken. Age up now coming in for Kynesie, sending in the flaming arrows. Doesn't actually get the full batch of Ashi. Second shrine going down here for the Japanese side to the Brits. 2 Hussars being trained from Gretchen Doorway. They'd add a stable as well. Check out the shipment here for Brits. 600 wood and 700 wood. And then the 700 coin on the way. Continuously training more Hussars. Interesting move here. No longbows being trained. Has got his max mana house. So he's on max mana house population. Not sure if he has the maximum amount of mana houses out, but he's definitely close to it. You have to keep in mind here, Turtur, Gretchen's Doorway is in H2, his opponent is in H3, and Ashi's beat Musketeers usually, even in H2, or especially in H2, and now that they're upgraded, going to be quite a difficult challenge here, but the best area is being researched here from the consulate, but the flaming arrow is coming up from the Masamune Daimyo, but is this the right move? He's got no sort of anti-cav versus these Hussars, but might not actually need it. It has more reinforcing Ashigarus in the backline, and the best areas will take down some of the Musketeers, but not before losing 2 of those flaming arrows. Really ballsy move here by Kynesie. You can definitely tell he plays Inca, spawning the Harakas to the Chasqui, and in this case, the flaming arrows to the Shogunate, or the Daimyo. Yeah, good thing those Ashigarus came in on time, but I don't think he even needed them. There was only 2 Hussars to deal with, could really just snipe them down with his other infantry units, but now 4 Hussars coming out from the stable, turning onto some of these bestiaries. Ashi's are kind of out of position here. We'll lose a lot of these crossbows, but I don't think there's going to be a full commit here by Gretchen's Doorway. Of course, can't really full commit. He never knows what's going to pop out, and in this case, another batch, or another full, I think it's 6 or 7 Ashigarus being sent from the home city here for Kynesie. Interesting engagement there. So 8 Ashis being sent as his last shipment, and he has another shipment ready. And you might be wondering, where does he have all of this XP from to send all of this stuff? Well, he did get that from the Shogunate, from the Age Up. He got all of that XP and kind of just giving him a really nice boost here. And you can just see, like, H3 here from Kynesie, he's literally not bothered. He's on 14 shrines with the big shrine. His eco is pretty much in motion, and he's easily able to be aggressive with better units. So this is kind of a dream here for Kynesie, and maybe not entirely what Gretchen's Doorway expected. I think what he expected was Japan to stay H2, go full greedy, and it to be like a full H2 fight. But Kynesie knows better than to do anything like that, and in this case, definitely paying off. And yeah, Kynesie, as a result, will start burning down these 2 barracks and just kind of poke with these best areas. I don't think he even cares about these at this point. We'll draw them back though. Mossas being trained from Gretchen's Doorway. Actually training double ranks Musketeers. Gonna come out, but they're gonna be inferior to these Ashigaru, and even the flaming arrows there as well will apply a lot of splash damage. Nice little switch there. Nice pop on the Musketeers, putting them into melee on the side of Brits, trying to take out some of these flaming arrows. The Hussars taking out the remaining Bestiaries, but after the Bestiaries go down, it's only gonna be the Ashigaru, and Hussars versus Ashi is not gonna be a fun fight for the British side. Maybe if you had like another 20 Musketeers to kind of get these Musketeers or these Ashigaru down low, it'll be a different story, but GG being called on the side of Brits. Masamune on 100 HP towards the end of that fight, just giving that aura still to the very end. Really nice play, and yeah, nice build order, I guess, difference there. You can see just Kynesie with the perfect build order to counter whatever Gretchen's Doorway is preparing against. And yeah, just really shutting that down very quickly, going H3, making it easier for him and harder for his opponent. And really nice timing as well. Kind of like a semi-14 shrine boom with no military units, just the walls. Yeah, I can see a lot of Inca in his gameplay as well, which, like I said before, many people know him to play. Eco-wise, behind on the side of Japan. So 11,870. So Brits was still ahead. But you have to imagine if Kynesie got those like 6 extra shrines out, probably would have been very balanced. And maybe even better for Japan towards the end. Really cool build here from Kynesie, very strong. Of course, you're very prone to H2 aggression. It's a risk you take. Ledger-wise, look at the boom from Gretchen's Doorway. It wasn't the best boom. This isn't really a good boom here. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. This could be somewhere over here, ideally, and you can also age up with the Naturalist sometimes, but it's still okay, I guess, reasonable. He also aged up quite late, which I don't fully understand. He aged up at 4 minutes and 32. 17-volt age up, so I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. Whereas Kynesie, of course, got that 100 food charge, which changed his game pretty much. I think that's pretty much all for now. Maybe you can see the XP total. See when he ages up, just gets that huge surge of XP right there, giving him his shipments. Alright guys, game number 1 going towards Kynesie in this round of 32 series. Curious to see how Gretchen pulls this back if he manages to actually take a few games off of Kynesie. I generally feel like many people might not know how Narita plays or how Gretchen's always plays, but I think he's a really good player. Like, when I played against him back in the day with his Brits, he was scary, like really, really scary, but it depends on what kind of form he's in and how much he's been playing recently, but I generally feel like he could definitely take some games off Kynesie, and that's no disrespect to Kynesie, that's just, I think he's a really good player. So we'll have to see. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. I'll just load up the next game. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another series here. Second game, Kynesie versus Gretchen's Doorway. Playing currently on the map Parallel Rivers. Now we have Kynesie playing on the west side of Parallel Rivers as the Swedes. Currently building his first top, gathering his crates, herding in some of his bighorn sheep. And I'll lie to you guys, haven't actually seen Kynesie play Swedes ever. And just to see how this goes, obviously he's probably practiced this quite a bit. Tournament environment, he's not going to pick something that he's not very familiar with, but he's someone who is probably very familiar with his civilization. On the right side, we have Gretchen's Doorway playing as the Russians. And going to be an interesting matchup. You see Russia being picked on this map quite a bit. Just depends on how well do you know the map, how well are you in terms of reaching your timings against Sweden or against any civilization with Russia. So this could be a really good game here for Gretchen's Doorway, but also could be a good game for Kynesie. I feel like Sweden is not the worst pick against Russia. They have strong H2 timings as well. The lever cannons make them so vicious in H2. Very hard to deal with. Oh, nice little treasure here being picked up on the side of Kynesie, going for the 40 wood treasure. We'll be happy about that. Will of course enable him to get his maybe second torp a little bit faster, or his third torp a little bit faster. And see beautiful torp placement here on the side of Kynesie. Just check out these gathering rates already. These are essentially 2 extra villages he's getting, more than 2 extra villages. Just look at this single torp gathering rate. That is absolutely through the roof. That is so good. That's like a villager plus steel traps plus, because it's gathering wood and coin, which are slower gathered resources. And that's ×2. Very impressive. So heading towards the top section of the map. Finally finding himself some goats. Of course, usually if this was a civilization with any sort of faster explorer, like a cavalry explorer, he would be heading up here a lot faster to get these goats. A lot of goats on this map. As you can see, yep, Russia not really going for it. Kind of just hovering in the middle. He up an 80 wood treasure, finding himself, you know, lucky with that 80 wood treasure. Gonna be happy about that. Of course, we'll be able to build that blockhouse maybe faster in age 2. But now that I actually see he's sending in 300 wood, interesting build here by Gretchen's Doorway. Wow, and if we check out his deck, he's got Economic Theory, he's got Distributivism, and he's got Cavalry Scouts. So all of these cards are very good, but you rarely see them all three being in Age 1 combined with 300 wood, which he's then opting for as well, especially on a non-TP map, something you need to keep in mind. I think Distributivism, obviously a card that scales so well, because Distributivism is a trickle, so it's never going to stop. So just imagine how much better that's going to be than 300 wood further down the line. And I can guarantee you he's not going to send in 300 wood and Distributivism afterwards. So this is questionable for sure, but I'm going to have to see what he does with that 300 wood. I cannot lie, I haven't really seen this been done too many times. I'm just picking up a coin treasure here, I think. 35 coin, 35 XP, not bad. And you see just having the time of his life up here, finding more wood treasures and more goats. Has definitely done his research on this map, and I guess he knows this. This is kind of an old school map, if I'm not mistaken, so Kynesie being an old school player, he knows about these maps, and I guess he's not really too bothered going up here as fast as possible because he's expecting to maybe just lose them. 4.50 movement speed is not the fastest. Against most of the civilizations with fast explorers, he probably wouldn't have had them anyways. Just check out what he's doing with that wood. 200 wood on the floor. Going for a 17 villager age up. Wow. Impressive. So no sort of aggression here from Russia, and I do want to mention that I'm fairly certain that Gretchen's Doorway plays Sweden himself, and I've played against him quite a bit when he plays Swedes. He likes to go for mercenary builds. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. What is he doing? He's just winging it. You have to keep in mind, he knows exactly how to play Sweden, so he's probably going to also know how what they struggle against, their strengths and weaknesses, and in this case, he decides, okay, he was going for that 14 villager age up, if I saw correctly, and then cancelled it. And then went for the... he was going for the 17 villager age up, and then he cancelled it, and I was going for the 14 villager age up, if I saw correctly. Not bad. I like the adjustment there. Definitely, I think that 17 villager age up would have been very questionable. But in this case, he decides forward blockhouse, 14 villager age up is what he wants to do. I'm just heading over to the middle section of the map with 3 villas. So 300 wood being invested into maybe a double blockhouse here. Of course, maybe the 300 wood could enable him to kind of lay back, right? So he can build houses. He doesn't have to worry about chopping the wood. He doesn't have to worry about other stuff like that. So he can just maybe focus all of his villagers' attention on food. And then spam out Strelets and go for a very strong timing push. Maybe that's exactly what he's planning. Check on Kynesie. Kynesie in his base, 14 villager age up for him. Aging up with the governor, getting a faster age up, building a marketplace in transition, and aging up with the governor means that he's not going to have 200 wood for his house, for his barracks. So I'm curious to see how he's going to manage to afford his barracks. I mean, he could be placing a barracks right now, and you have to imagine he's playing against Russia. He needs a barracks fast, I would assume, but he's just chilling in his base and actually going for the stable. That is genius. I was going to say Russia probably doesn't expect Sweden to go for a stable, because it's just very unlikely that Sweden's going to go for a stable. So Russia's probably going to make full Strelets. And Kynesie's so clutch going in with the stable. We're going to have to see how that goes. We're going to have to see if Musketeers are going to be trained from Russia or if it's going to be Strelets. I like this already a lot. And I think he managed to get enough wood for the stable. I'm not sure if he bought or not. Could, of course, buy with that 200 coin that you got from his age up. Hussar in Q, sending in the Dominions card. H2 as well. First shipment. This will give him 4 torps. Boost the torp HP, and then also enable them to auto-gather crates and also accept shipments. Strong build here from Kynesie for sure. I like this a lot. Gretchen's Doorway not training Strelets, but he is sending in Strelets. To 13 Strelets as his first shipment, 5 Musketeers behind. Currently could train some more Musketeers. There we go. So 10 Musketeers and 13 Strelets will be interesting here. I don't think he's going to be able to push the base of his opponent. He's going to be pushing it to an outpost, TC Fire, Minutemen, and a Hussars. Going to be the easiest here. Another Fog of War for Gretchen's Doorway as we proceed. How he approaches this. I mean, it's already looking so vicious. And, you know, Kynesie being one of the best turtle players in this game. Trust me, he is very well equipped with any sort of early age aggression. All he does. No walls being built here for Sweden, but might not even need them. Outpost now in the fight. Did see those 4 Hussars, but they're not going to defend their base. They're actually going to raid the opponent, and that's kind of a good move. That's the way you win when you're playing Lakota versus Russia. You kind of hold the first initial push, and then you raid. And this is one of the hardest maps to raid on, if you ask me. Like there's a choke right there with a blockhouse in the middle. I mean, sneaking Hussars past that is a skill. In this case, he does, and managed to get a nice bill here. And a huge idol. Hussars being trained. Or Musketeers being trained. Sure, this is going to go here for Kynesie. Governor outpost on half HP. 5 Cossack being sent on the side of Gretchen's doorway, but will it be enough? 4 Hussars versus 5 Cossack. Who wins this? First engagement does go towards Kynesie. Managed to get the first swing, pulling back his Hussars on both sides, and the Cossack, of course, getting pulled as well. 1 Hussar going down, 1 Cossack still alive on 75 HP, but needs to bring him back to attack these Hussars because Hussars have more strength in a one-on-one. Does look like Kynesie will clean up here, I think. In his base, barracks being placed. Actually being scouted out by the Russian side, but not really reacting towards it. Just focusing all of his attention on burning down the outpost and letting the barracks go up from the single villager. Really doesn't get much done there. Does idle a little bit, but obviously would like to kill villagers. Hussar remaining, and you can just see the sheer strength on those Cossack. Isn't that insane? I guess it was 4 Hussars versus 5 Cossack, but still. Cossack 1 pop, lower cost, winning against Hussars, or almost. Nice pop on those lever cannons now coming out from the side of Kynesie. That is exactly what we talked about. This is going to be such a menace. Such a hard thing to deal with for Gretchen's doorway. I think that's just such a great thing for Sweden, is that they have these lever cannons, and it just really holds their H2 together, because ideally you need Hussars to deal with this, but then your opponent's making Caronians, which counter cavalry from melee, from range, sorry. So just synergizes very well with what Sweden has going on for them in terms of civilization design. And you can see reaction here from Gretchen's doorway, sending in the 4 Cossack just to deal with those cannons. But will it be enough? I mean, definitely like the fact that he's going for those 4 Cossack, because he needs to kill these lever cannons before the Caronian mass starts to build. You see sending in blueberries behind this. Shipment-wise, sending in 700 wood. After the 4 torps, and now the 11 cannons into the blueberries. So really cool build. I'm a big fan. Just not sure about the Hussars, though. Feels like he really expected his opponent to make full Strelets, and even I expected full Strelets. And then you're also playing on a map which is very hard to raid, but he feels like it's better to make Hussars here and at least idle his opponent, rather than just stay in your base idle with Carolians. So I understand the thought process, just seems tricky. Nice sneaky torps being built here. Very hard for the Russian side to fight. I mean, you have to imagine how far you would have to go to burn these torps, which also have bonus HP, by the way. So Shrine has 1,300, Torp 1,430. Yeah, now with the lever cannons, Carolians pouring out, Torp's also starting to mass up. Kynesi's looking to be in a really good spot. He's going to be really strong. Just needs to kind of wait a little bit for his timing. Can maybe already start poking, but needs to be wary. Needs to be very wary. If Russia pays attention right now, this could be really devastating for him, because there's no way to get those lever cannons back apart from to train them from the artillery foundry, which is very expensive. Oh no, Kynesie trying to poke. Does have Caronians coming out. Also has the Minutemen, which I'm going to assume he's probably going to pop here. Is he going to be able to escape with these lever cannons? Might not even need the lever cannons at this point. Nice little micro there, sneaking the lever cannons in between the Hussars, going and blocking the Cossack between the Torp and the TC. Actually messing up the pathfinding of that single Cossack, but lever cannons do go down in the end. So both of them do go down. Caronian's still alive, but nice bait altogether in Kynesie. So like we said, he might not even need the lever cannons at this point, because now the Caronians might be in a sufficient mass. Minutemen haven't been popped, but Hussars also tanking some additional damage versus these Musketeers, and GG actually being called. Gretchen's doorway kind of getting baited a little bit there, overextending quite a bit, trying to get those lever cannons, and as a result losing his entire army. So Kynesie just a big brain play there. Really nice game from him, and also beautiful builds from Kynesie. I really like these builds, very clean. I love the fact that he went Dominions into 700 wood, trained Hussars, trying to adapt to what his opponent was going to do. Then the lever cannons, which is like he's playing according to all of Sweden's strengths, right? So what a genius build for sure. You can definitely see the skill in Kynesie for sure. There's no question. And it's very surprised to see him play Sweden as well. I'm not sure if I missed something, but I mean, yeah, really, really strong Sweden player. So yeah, game number 2 going to Kynesie. Yeah, not really much to say about that series. Was fairly a short series. Turtur, of course, I guess just I don't know. He played alright. He didn't really make many mistakes. He went for interesting build orders. He tried, but I think he needed to take it a step further. I think he just needed to kind of bring additional heat, do something maybe a little bit more spicier. Because I guess some of these good players, you can't just do the same old, but so they're just gonna predict that very easily. They've played against it like 1,000 times, so I guess that's why he went for the 300 wood into like what he did with the Strelets. I definitely admire him for that. Just to see how he progresses in the future tournaments. Can't wait to cast more of his games, and big shout to him. Resource-wise, behind, of course, Sweden just looking so strong. And matchup-wise, I always feel like Russia and Sweden are quite close. In terms of civilization design, it feels like I've seen Eternal Major play a lot of Sweden, and he's a Russia main. And maybe it's just a natural progression, like Sweden able to spam out so many units, musketeers, and just do so much. Triple, quadruple barracks. Seem like they just love their infantry units. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all for that game. Alright guys, I'll load up the next series. The next series I've heard is going to be quite wild. So if you guys are enjoying this series so far, then I think we are just about getting started, because from what I've heard and what I've seen, I think, yeah, this is going to be quite a series. So get your snacks, get your beer, get everything you need. I'm going to quickly restart my game, so give me like 2-3 minutes, and then we'll get loaded with LukasL versus Feldherr Tobi, and I'll see you guys real soon. Alright guys, just one more minute or so and we'll load up next series. Let me know if the settings are okay, if my microphone is a little bit too distorted, loud, quiet. If there's any sort of issues, make yourself known. I'll fix them ASAP. But if everything's in order, then we'll proceed very shortly. I sadly don't have the Hauser flag, so you're wondering. Hey guys, let's go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second series, Feldherr Tobi versus LukasL. This is quite a series, as I've heard and as I've stated before. It's going to be quite a nice one indeed, and also spawning on a map that I've used to really know. And I think I think this is the map I played my first Supremacy 1v1 game on. It's called Oramansania, something along those lines. And in this case, spawning in the top side, we have Feldherr Tobi playing as Hauser. Also, if you need to know anything about Feldherr Tobi, there's anything you need to know about Feldherr Tobi, he is 1,700 elo plus, so he's definitely improved a lot in terms of elo. I know a lot of people know him to be kind of a medium elo scrub. I think that's something a lot of people refer to him as, respectfully, of course, but he's definitely not. He's very good, and he also plays a lot against LukasL in previous streams and on previous games. He's definitely well matched against LukasL and also very experienced on how he plays. Bottom side, we have LukasL playing as the Aztecs, something I've seen him play a few times, but I also know him to play mostly Lakota and other civilizations. So this is going to be an interesting matchup for sure, and the fact that he agreed to playing Aztec versus Hauser kind of shows you a lot about how confident he feels against the civilization. In this case, Aztec does find himself a nice little treasure behind his base. 75 wood is something that he will definitely want to use. Could maybe add a free house with this, maybe even a marketplace. There's a lot of wood in the Aztec start and a lot of coin as well. As you can see, he's got 100 coins spent, even like some additional wood on the floor right here. So he could do a lot of things here with that 75 wood. On a double check, Hauser Explorer just kind of peering over the horizon here, just seeing what he can see. Kind of preparing for the worst. Maybe just complaining about the cold weather here. I'm not quite sure. Also have some llamas that spawn in this map. No real benefits for either of these civilizations with the llamas, apart from just using them to get the additional food that they give when fully fattened or semi-fattened. Wood treasure now being picked up. A lot of llamas on this map. You can see all of these little areas are full of llamas. So have the Quenchua settlement here. So those give the Mapuche spearmen, I believe. Or the, Quantila pikemen. Close. Humaninka pikemen. So the ones you usually get from the treasure on maps like Mexico. The opening on the side of Hauser, he went for the granary with a single villagers, building that, of course, getting the 10% bonus. Then, of course, using the llamas on his livestock market. So we did say there's no sort of bonus here for the llamas from either civilization. But one thing that you do have to keep in mind with Hauser is that they spawn with a livestock market, which allows them to actually use these llamas to sell them for resources. So that's not quite true what I said. So this is going to be really actually good for Hauser, able to use all of these llamas. And I think it's kind of one-sided in terms of the advantage he gets from these llamas, because Aztec can't really do anything else with these llamas apart from eat them, whereas he can sell them for wood, sell them for coin, and just really get a huge bonus there in terms of eco. Huge bonus. And they also fatten faster on the livestock market, which is incredible. But for now, just getting his hunting dogs in, I believe. 0.97. I believe that's hunting dogs, or his, his village dogs. And then also the 10% from his granary. And then sending in his second card, or first card of age 1, which gives him his second explorer. Also delivers a Hauser builder, very interesting. You can see here, this will give him a free emir and also a Hauser builder as well as a Sangakatu. If you look at the value of this card, you might find it slightly questionable, right? 200 wood, which is a trading post. Could of course invest that into a dog, I think, maybe, but a trading post it is in this game. And then he also gets a Sangakatu, which has a total 500 maximum food potential, and then 200 food to begin with. It's a really, really high value shipment there. Makes sense that a lot of people send them in. Aztec on the other side, also sending in another Age 1 shipment, sending in ATP, so the Advanced Trading Post, which will reduce his trading post cost by 80%, or 80 wood, should I say, or 80%. Also finding himself a scout, it seems. The scout finding himself a llama. Actually picking up 2 native scouts, so that was a unique treasure to him. So using these very wisely. Does have to actually delete this llama, however. Emirs on the run have actually been nerfed in the last patch. Used to have 6.75 movement speed, but now it's 5.75. 3 minute and 10 age up now coming in for LukasL. Not sending in the Kalmakai card, doesn't even have it in his deck. Has the Schooners card in his deck, but doesn't have an Age 1 dock. Something you see Kynesie add quite often. Of course, could go for an H2 transition dock, but seeing as he's going for an ATP, we're not going to expect any sort of dock play, I don't think, in the early stages. Maybe just side card if he needs it. And we'll add the first trading post and most likely a lot more to follow. But you have to also keep in mind that Feldherr Tobi is easily able to build trading posts himself. Not only does he start with a trading post with that card that he sent in, but then he's also able to sell resources from his livestock market to easily be able to afford trading posts as soon as he ages up. And you can see the first trading post being built. And I do believe he sold a Sanga cattle for this. Chopping wood with 6 villagers. Always kind of hard to see what they go for in transition, Hauser. There's a lot of options here, right? So Unger's previously said what he likes to do with Hauser in transition is save for placer mines. And then switch his villagers back onto natural resources and kind of save money for his units. I think he also builds a house in transition, but we're going to have to see Feldherr Tobi building a granary or a second granary, actually killing these bears, picked up a dog, and easily able to make these bears attack each other and pick up this free villager. A nice synergy there. Now this TP slot being bugged. LukasL cannot build that. Or being blocked, should I say. Can't build the TP there. Is actually using a villager to build one of the other TPs just to kind of claim the TP line faster than his opponent. Hauser also aging up with the Hauser. So that's going to be the 300 wood as well as the war camp builder. LukasL aging up with the Elder. So the scouting here for LukasL as we kind of commence into Age 2. And we see first signs of some sort of action here. A lot of Guardians being converted from the Aztec player can definitely help him out in terms of sieging or just being additional fighting material. And the snare actually coming in for Aztec. Wow, look at the damage he's doing to this Emir. You have to imagine he doesn't have the highest HP pool. It's only 400. And now that he's actually been slowed from one of the last patches, he's not going to be able to escape as efficiently, but maybe he could be pull tricked. Looks like Aztec's just going to back off for now. Build the TP himself. So 3 TPs for Aztec, 2 for Hauser. LukasL now sending in the wood as his first shipment, going for the hunting dogs in Age 2. Of course, adding that marketplace in transition. 8 villagers on coin, 7 on food. Maybe he's going to stop at 400 coin and send 600 coin next and go for an Age 3, but I find that hard to believe. You have to see. That's a lot of coin that he's stacking. Maybe coyotes? Interesting, very interesting build here from LukasL. Or interesting macro, I think, is the way to say it. For me, anyways. Hauser in Age 2. Didn't really send anything in Age 2. The reason why is because he sent in Hauser Kingdom in Age 1. So when you time this, when you're aging up and in Exploration Age, the green bar hits I, you send in the Hauser Kingdom. And upon aging up, you get 2 builders. One you can turn into a university. The other one you can turn into a trading post. So it's a really, really good build to go for, but it's not always possible. It depends on what kind of start you get. If you have early TP income, you can, of course, afford to send in a second shipment in H1 and still have a shipment ready in H2. In this case, I don't think he quite had that shipment ready in H2, but now sending in the Palace of Amina. So something I see a lot of players send in back in the day, but haven't actually seen a lot of people send this in recently. But I think Feldherr Tobi definitely experienced with houses, so he's got a reason for this for sure. A good one. He gets 1 palace wagon and 300 influence, and then also increases the palace build limit. Never really been a fan of this card, I can't lie to you, but we're gonna have to see. Has his next shipment ready, and also has the Palace of Amina coming in. So that's a free palace that he essentially receives, and it's also going to boost the university, right? So this university gets 0.75 extra influence trickle, based on the buildings that it surrounds, TC or a palace. So that palace is definitely going to add another 0.75 to the university. Javelin Rider is being trained here for LukasL. Whereas, sorry, for Feldherr Tobi, LukasL actually now training some Puma Spearmen. Kind of struggling to find where he's got his barracks. There we go, in the middle. He's already applying some damage with the first batch of Puma Spearmen to the train post of his opponent. Only has that standard 2,500 HP. Easily able to take this down. Gotta be honest, that was the last thing I expected to see here from LukasL. That he was going to train Puma Spearmen. I felt like he was going to train something else with that coin or stack for an age-up. Really didn't expect the Spearmen. Just doesn't seem like it would be a viable choice, especially when you know your opponent's going to make Javelin Riders. But Javelin Riders aren't the strongest. They're not like Bow Riders, so they're not going to be able to take out these Puma Spearmen fast enough, and he's sending Slingers behind, so it makes sense. And now researching the Stagecoach, getting his Founders Tech from his Community Plaza, which will increase the Bounty XP aura from his Explorer. I like the little bait raid here from Feldherr Tobi. A lot of Hauser players do this. They want to use the Javelin Riders to kind of idle, but you have to keep in mind that the Javelin Riders don't do any damage, basically, versus villagers. You're going to see they have a negative multiplier in range versus vills. It's always kind of a bait here. Is he going to idle his stuff, or is he just going to realize that these Javelin Riders can't do much? Maybe with the 2 Explorers, he will be able to do a little bit more. 15 range attack on both of them, but you can see, because I'm not really too scared. Slingers and Puma Spearmen being sent from the Warhut, also being trained from the Warhut. He's taking down these trading posts, and at this point, LukasL really on a timer in terms of taking down these training posts, because he's got the Stagecoach that he's basically funding for his enemy. He's giving his enemy free resources every single second these trading posts, or every single pass these trading posts stay alive longer. Additional wood being sent here for LukasL. So 600, 700 wood, and then the Slingers. And then also sending in the 5 vills, I believe. So a lot of shipments that he's already sent in. 4 shipments in Age 2 here for Aztec. 1, 2 for Hauser. Has his 3rd shipment ready. So 1 shipment behind. 1 shipment behind. Hauser is stacking for an Age up here. And, just about to lose his very last trading post. I think he's going to be okay with that. He's got the palace. He's done a little bit of idling, kind of scoped out his opponent's base. He knows what's going on the map. So he knows what to expect. He knows that he has a Stagecoach to deal with. He knows where the front base is. He definitely knows that he's got some time in H3. Or he's got some stuff to do in H3, I think. And he's got some time to go H3 with the palace. Very hard to push. I actually always felt like Aztec was a really good counter pick to Hauser if they go for a timing push. Like a really strong H2 timing push, but I think that ship is kind of sailed. Gonna have to see here what LukasL proceeds to do in H2. If he goes full aggressive, controls the map, stops his opponent out, or if he goes H3 himself. I think the fast age up was researched here for Hauser. He's still got 1,000 influence that he's stacking up, and that's 8 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. He's just casually stacking 1,000 influence. So just imagine having 1,000 export this soon. And aging up the Moroccans, so that's going to be the XP age up that he receives. He gets, I think, 500 to 600 XP, something along those lines. Could be more, even be 800. I always mix up those numbers, but then he also receives a mosque, which will generate XP for him, 0.80 per second. With Javelin Riders being trained in transition. 20 bills for Hauser, 29 for Aztec. So definitely behind in terms of eco, but you also have to remember Hauser can sell resources at the livestock market. LukasL scoping the base of his opponent, kind of hovering around the outskirts to see if he can do any sort of idle work. Definitely needs to do something now that he knows his opponent's in H3. He's not going to just idly stand by and let his opponent get his full economic bonus as well as his military bonus as well. And he knows about the Hauser timing push with the XP crates. He's going to be able to send in so much stuff. And usually when you go H3, your shipments are worth so much more. The fact that he's going to be able to send in shipments back-to-back in H3, his score is going to skyrocket as Hauser. Library going down. Nice first choice here from LukasL, but needs to be wary. A lot of units here to deal with, as well as taking damage from the palace. We'll get the university. So really nice play there by LukasL. That's already a really good trade. Very expensive building. Aztec stacking a lot of resources indeed. Got every single 5 TP line Stagecoach trading post on generating wood. Might just need to switch that in the meantime, but he's got a lot of wood to spend. Maybe add a second warhead, third warhead. He's got a lot of resources. He could just spam units at this point, and look at the damage that he's doing. Not only killing a university, but then also killing Palace. And what is the reaction here from Hauser? He's definitely doing something. He's waiting for something, and the Cannoneers coming out with the 1000 influence. Genius play here by him. Definitely going to do a lot of damage, and instantly you can see the back from Aztec, but not quite fully backing because he's got remass of Coyotes coming in, and now it's the Cannoneers' turn to go back. He's hiding in between the choke though, and will be enough Coyotes here. They don't have Coyote combat on them, and maybe not enough. They do have lower hit points as well as taking additional damage from a lot of buildings here. All of the Coyote actually getting killed from the Cannoneers, the Palace, and the villagers blocking, and the TC fire. Feldherr Tobi still has 200 influence to work with, and keeping most of his Cannoneers alive is definitely going to help him in whatever push he decides to do after this, but needs to definitely stabilize. He's lost a few villages. He's been idle. A lot of villages are low. His hunts are probably messed up. And he's got 3 villages kind of in a weird position. So you can see he's shaking right now. Feldherr is like, he's like, Jesus. Just about to crumble there. It's always kind of a shock when you get pushed. You got to make sure you kind of keep your you stay composed. And don't crack. Beautiful shipment and H3 being sent. Love the shipment. 5 villagers and 5 griots. Not the most value if you think about it. Of course, you could have 8 villagers instead, but I think the 5 griots are so good. Like, you can send them in when you're getting pushed like that, and they just change the fight immediately, in my experience. And then backing this with some additional javelin riders that he's training. Interesting. I'm quite sure how this is going to go for Feldherr Tobi. It could really go good for him or could go really bad, but he needs melee cap. He needs to deal with those slingers because this is essentially Abbas versus skirmishes, and we all know how that goes, right? Abbas lose to a great amount of skirmishes, especially when they have more numbers and more strength. But these are H2 slingers, so they're not the best either. So this could be really good for Feldherr Tobi. Just needs to see what he does behind this. Grids being added. Also, you have to keep in mind these slingers are kind of low value. And he's got the full TP line behind this as well. So he can just do this all day, whereas these Cannoneers, he's not going to be able to train them unless he has good natives. Nice Coyote pop here, kind of just sneaking them by. Not even sure how he managed to get them connected onto the Cannoneers, but the Javelin Riders are there. Could put them into melee, of course, but does he have enough Javelin Riders? That's the real question, because 5 Pumas are still alive, and now that these Javelin Riders are standing still, these Pumas are going to have their multipliers against some of these units, I believe, and the Slingers as well, I guess, applying their multiply damage against the Javelin Riders as well as the Cannoneers. But once again, every single Coyote runner going down, so he's just pushing a little bit too fast, in my opinion. I think he just needs maybe more Coyotes, right? I mean, if those were Hussars or Axe Riders, there would be no question all of these units would get killed, but you have to keep in mind the Coyotes are very low HP, 155. It just wasn't enough, and maybe it's time for Coyote combat. I wonder if he's dancing as well behind this. I'm not sure if he was dancing, but he's only got 1 Warrior Priest. So he only got 1 Warrior Priest. You can definitely tell that damage output from Aztec wasn't the greatest. It can be significant if they have like a Warrior Priest dance or a lot of Warrior Priests from dancing and just put them onto the war dance during a fight. But let's check in on Hauser for a quick second because I want to see how he stabilized. I want to see what he decides to do. I mean, one thing I've seen Plouf have an issue with a lot of the time is this, right? Look how much resource he has at the marketplace right now. He's got llamas. He's got 6 llamas fully fattened. I mean, that is insane. And then you look at the Sang Cattle 6 as well, 500 food. And he could sell these, not only could he sell them for 500 wood, 500 coin, he could just simply eat them. Look, you have to imagine how much additional resource this is. It's insane. And he's literally only getting started. And this is just by default. And it's also because he's spawning on a livestock map, which is so, in my opinion, I think is not fair. But, I mean, maybe Hauser needs it, to be honest. Doesn't seem to have the easiest game right now, for sure. And definitely struggling against because there was Aztecs. But yeah, I've always seen so many Hauser plays just have so much livestock towards the end that it actually overfills, right? You have more livestock almost than you have villages at one point. Also, one great thing he's able to do is use the palace research button from the TC. So for 500 influence, or I think it's 400 influence, he can get a free town center, or essentially a kingdom builder, which he can turn into a university, he can turn into a TC, or whatever he desires. In this case, it's going to be a university. Really, really efficient. Something you definitely have to do when you're playing Hauser. Such a good thing. One of their strongest things. If you look at Brits and you say Virginia Company is a strong card that they have or a strong ability, or let's say building manor houses and getting a free villager is essential to the British VC boom or British design. You could say the same about Hauser. That TC button that he just did to get those universities and those TCs, that's essential. That's the bread and butter right there, in my opinion. She saw a little bit of a raid going on here from LukasL, just hovering around the area behind Feldherr Tobi's base, seeing if he can find any villagers. And this is kind of a key moment here, I think, for LukasL, because he's going to realize really soon that his opponent barely has any food. And you can see, look how far he's expanding here with these granaries trying to get food. He doesn't even know if there's a hunt here. He's building a granary, hoping that these beautiful, beautiful guanaco kind of find their way to the granary. Seeing as it does lure animals in. A little bit of fighting going on, not quite sure. Alright, Cannoneers running down this trading post. LukasL going to H3, ahead in score actually. TP being claimed on the side of Hauser. Coyote's trying to go for a raid. Every single villager here is on the berries, so fully stacked up. And this is, like I said, really, really good for LukasL to know. He can just kind of tell how aggressive he can be and scope out where his opponent's getting his resources from. And I'm going to assume probably now Feldherr Tobi's going to burn this TP down very soon. Check in on LukasL, because I think he's been doing a lot in the meantime. We've been watching Hauser for quite a bit, and we've missed out a lot of Aztec's boom. So in the meantime, with all of that 1k wood that he had earlier, he just decided to drop down double racks, double docks, the double D, as I like to say. Also my name on Steam, by the way. And just train a lot of fishing boats. So yeah, really cool option here for him to go for, seeing as this is a water map with fairly decent amount of fish. I guess not the most actually, but still okay. It's quite a large map as well. It's a lot of spread out fish. Ideally, this would have been timed nicely with a warrior priest boom. Could have done the fertility dance and then just got all of these boats out faster. But just buying himself time with that fight to kind of get this up. And he's secured himself in the middle of map. Will probably be pushed back a little bit. I think he's going to lose that TP and maybe even lose this TP as well. But if that's all he loses, he's going to be fine. Now with the eco just pretty much in his favor. Slingers being sent in H3. H2, he sent in double slingers. He sent in Puma. He sent in double wood and 5 bills and Coyote combat, as well as schooners. So that's why he has so many fishing boats, because he sent in schooners and said that was a nice side card for him to use, and indeed. And now sending in the upgraded slingers, by the way. So this gives them extra range as well as extra hit points, 25% extra. Hauser still very much in this game, however. Not only do Hauser have a fairly decent economy in most games, almost identical to Brits with the selling that he gets at the marketplace if you consider the time. Definitely able to keep up with some of these strong economic civs, but you add to the fact that he also has a very strong army, and maybe not in base stats with the Javelin Riders and maybe the Fulani, but then when you combine them with the Griots and Lefidi, it's insane. It really is crazy. And then you also have an infinite resource influence which you can use to train mercenaries, so I think it's the synergy with everything that you add that really makes Hauser's army strong. A bit of a fight breaking out, but I think it's going to be very one-sided here. Hauser's going to absolutely destroy these Aztec units with the Griots at a full maximum here. Being H3 longer, getting the upgrade on his units. The slingers aren't even now upgraded. But he's trying to get a trade here, but maybe this is going to be good for Aztec, because he realizes his opponent doesn't have a lot of resources. So if he just managed to take a good trade, similar to Russia, and then just kind of remass and get good value here. Still waiting for those melee cap to come out, and oh my lord, I see the center horseman in the back line. He managed to kind of do this well and switch his units to kind of snell to some of these slingers. This could be huge, because LukasL is in a little bit of a predicament here. He's got a big fat army to deal with. That's usually how it goes with Hauser. You have such a huge army to deal with, and it's very hard to kill. He's got resources for days, but he's got no way to spend it. And this is literally how I lost every single game earlier versus Hauser. Just so much strength all of a sudden. You're not ready for it, and be training more Coyotes, should be training more units, maybe some Eagle Runner Knights, but in this case, he's going to lose his entire mass. All of the slingers going down, which he just sent in, doesn't have enough Coyote Runners to defend against the center horseman. He's got some Puma Spearmen, but 2 Puma Spearmen versus essentially mini Mamelukes. There's no way Griots just sounding all of the Coyotes, so they're not even going to be able to do damage to the center horseman. Slingers, of course, are trying their best against the Javelin Riders, but at this point, the Javelin Riders isn't really what you need to worry about, and the only real counter here for these Griots, for most civilizations, is cannons, right? Cannons counter Griots. But when you're playing Aztec, you don't really have that opportunity, and at this point, LukasL losing his entire mass in the middle of the map, and I don't think he cares necessarily about losing his units. It's the fact that he's not even trimmed down even half of his opponent's army size, which means he's going to lose his double barracks, his trading post, maybe even another trading post. His resources are going to be pushed, and Hauser's going to be able to expand behind that, get all of the food and all of the coin, and then it's just full strength Hauser, and I'm not sure if Aztec's going to keep up score-wise behind. More slingers coming out. Of course, trickling in XP doesn't have the villagers or the warrior priest dancing on the community plazas, so can't even get these units out faster. And actually saying, haha, GG, and you always know when someone says GG lol or haha G, they just had a bad game, and GG actually going towards Feldherr Tobi, winning game number 1 versus LukasL. And wow, pretty incredible. Didn't really expect it to go like that, but you know, I've seen it all before. I've seen this exact same game happen before many times in my own gameplay and many other people's gameplays. It's just something that you need to be wary of. I feel like you need to find a way to spend those resources fast, because their unit strength is incredible with the griots. And imagine if you just added like 5 Lefidi on top of that. Mind is blown. But I guess who needs Lefidi when you also have Senna Horsemen, which you can just send in with a free resource. Very impressive game here from him. Still don't know how I feel about this card, Palace of Amina. I guess it makes sense. It's for his base defense, but I'm also feeling like he could have just sold these units or these Sangakatsu and these llamas and built the palace and then sent in something else with higher value, like 4 vills or something. But I don't know. Maybe he's happy with that. I just never really been a fan of that card, but just look at the livestock he has, by the way. And he's on berries as well, so you can see he's not even playing his civilization to the full strength. He's on berries when he has like all of that food. So you can see a little bit of overkill. It's like having Spanish gold and then never sending it. Yeah, very good. Very well played by Feldherr Tobi. Nice build order there. Nice kind of adapting. Also nice game from LukasL. And let's head into game number 2. But let's first check out some of the post-game stats. Resource-wise, LukasL ahead by far. 5k more resources than him. Just couldn't spend those resources fast enough. Military-wise, also has more. Of course, very common to see Aztec have more military. Similar to Russia, have low-cost units. The units, I guess, more designed to be cost-effective. Or cost-efficient. More experience as well here for LukasL. Villager-wise, also very far ahead. 63 vills versus 35. And Feldherr Tobi also didn't go for the Polakus code, which is the nice little food upgrade card for him. These are just... This is like a terrible eco if you think about it. It's really bad eco. But still okay with the marketplace, of course. And I think that's pretty much... I mean, just look at the trade right here. I guess as Aztec, you need to be up here, which you would have been. Just couldn't pump out units fast enough. Maybe should have sacrificed the position in the middle here. Maybe should have sacrificed the positioning in the middle here. Maybe lost these 2 war huts and then built them back here and just bought himself time to remass. I think that would have worked. Just need it. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed the first game of the LukasL versus Feldherr Tobi series. I'm gonna check the chat quickly, seeing if I missed anything. Alright. Okay. I think good. So yeah, first game going towards Feldherr Tobi. So I'm going to update that score real quick and load up the next game for you guys. So just give me a few secs. And I'll see you guys in a few seconds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 of the second series of today's stream. We welcome you all to the UEC tournament. It's going to be quite the challenge here for both players, and of course, both players do want to advance in this tournament for the cash prize. Currently, we have LukasL spawning in the bottom side of the map in the color blue, playing as one of his main civilizations. Something that we see a lot, of course, civilization being played a lot by LukasL. I think he is definitely renowned for and loves to go for fast industrial strategies based on what I've seen in previous tournaments, and plays them versus some of the highest level players in this game. Other side, we have Feldherr Tobi playing as the Germans in the color yellow. And, you know, I used to play against Feldherr Tobi quite a bit, and Germany was the civilization I know him to play quite a lot. And I also want to mention that both players here are German as well. So there's a lot on the line here. There's a lot of respect amongst these players, and also, of course, a lot of winning desire here from both of these players. And in this case, Germany will go for the house and the marketplace start, of course, getting his nice economic bonus. Something Germany is able to do is go for the hunting dogs very early on. Just needs to gather the coin for it, as well as the wood, and doing exactly that with the settler wagons. Actually has 2 settler wagons on coin and 1 on wood. Treasure-wise, picking up a food treasure in his base. Also want to mention that we are playing on the map Texas. And we're going to talk about the map Texas in a little bit. Also see a trading post from LukasL towards the bottom side of the map. Also want to check out his opening real quick before we miss anything. But it seems to be just the trading post, and now he's going to chop enough wood to build the village, and then synergize this well with Northern refugees in age 1. The really standard stuff from him. At, I guess age 3 will indicate that he most likely will be going for a naked fast fortress, or maybe even a fast industrial. Of course, wants that trading post to trickle in XP, but on the map Texas, a lot of treasures, a lot of cows. 75 coin being picked up for LukasL, and cows spawning on the outskirts here. A map that many people don't actually like. I think a lot of people hate this map. I don't really know why. I guess it doesn't have the best hunts, right? Your hunts tend to wander after your first set. So this is your second set of hunts. And I guess the same with coin mines. You do have copper mines though, which aren't the worst. They're not gold mines, but there's the same as silver mines, so it's not the worst there. But seems like everything is very spread out on this map. Maybe this could be a very viable game for H2 play. We're gonna have to check it out, but then you also have the TP lines in front of each other's base, so it could definitely be an option here to go for stagecoach very easily. But Tobi will be crack shotting or trying to kite some of these coyotes, doing a really good job, I think. I wonder what this treasure is going to give him. It's 80 food. That's a double food treasure that he's picked up. And also on the other side, he has another food treasure. If he finds this, that's like almost a 200 food in treasures alone. Just imagine his age up time there. One thing we can say about Texas is that they definitely like their steaks. Respectfully, a lot of food on this map. A lot of cows as well. Can also eat them for the faster age up. Let's see the food treasure being picked up here. Uncontested for LukasL. Gonna be happy about that. No sort of snipe. Of course, explorer from Feldherr Tobi miles away finds himself a second food treasure as well. No few refugees card coming in. Also using his livestock that he found on the map to task onto the village. And this is kind of worth mentioning because villagers actually fatten these livestock animals up faster. So he also gets a nice little bonus there for these villagers, livestock animals. Essentially, if you wanted to go H3 fast or H4 fast, you could actually just wait for these cows to be 400, 300 food, 500 food even, and just eat them. That's a lot of additional resource. 30 food being picked up for LukasL. On the other side, Feldherr Tobi just kind of idle in the middle of the map. I want to see what his age up time is with all of that food that he found. 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Not sure if this is it feels okay. I feel like he could have been faster for some reason, but I guess he did go for the marketplace start. So it always has an effect on your age up. Could have, of course, eaten the cow as well, but yeah, still getting that nice age up. 2 minutes and 50 is definitely decent. And then getting his gangster as well in transition. So he's going to be chopping wood, most likely for a trading post, something Germany players love to do. Reason why they love to trade, chop for trading posts is because they're a big fan of XP, right? They want their settler wagons, they want their shipments to come in fast in H3. They just want to stack a lot of XP to just be able to send in stuff and just advance throughout the ages, right? They want their 3 settler wagons, 700 coin or 700 wood, 700 coin, and then H3 and units galore with that trading post. Really, really good. Just fits the entire style of Germany, being kind of a semi-FF civilization. 30 food being picked up as well. Kind of late to find this, but still okay. So not really much going on. Curious to see if we're going to see a consulate. Okay, so he's probably going to go for a consulate with the card they send in age 1. So if you guys aren't aware of what this card does, it's called T Export, and I guess this has been around for, I guess, a month now or 2 months. So people should be familiar with this card, but it adds an additional export trickle. So you get extra 0.40 trickle rate, as well as 100 export to your inventory. And with that 100 export that he has, and I guess every bit of gathered export from previous minutes and seconds, he's going to be able to ally with the Russians and get himself a blockhouse. And you might be thinking, why a blockhouse? He could just build a standard barracks or something like that. But it really synergizes well with his strategy that I'm pretty sure he's going to go for, which is the fast industrial into Rattan shields or whatever he needs, basically. So if he's getting pushed, he's going to send in Rattan shields. If he wants to be aggressive, he's going to send in something else. So he's definitely going for a fast industrial. I have a strong feeling here. And with that blockhouse, it's also going to give him an attack, right? So that's essentially having like an outpost in your base. So that's the governor age up for Brits or any of the other civilizations. It really makes sense to go for this blockhouse, as it synergizes very well with this build. And then also going for the Summer Palace, gets the free banner armies. Definitely going to help him in terms of defending his base. Does have a coin treasure in his base as well, and I think this is really good for him, especially if he does want to go for fast aging. But actually chopping quite a bit of wood in transition, which makes me question a lot here. 7 villagers on wood, maybe the second TP actually. Indeed. Hovering around the TP line, and as soon as he has 200 wood, that's when he backs off and decides to gather some other resources. Also want to mention that the Summer Palace will give him 400 food upon aging up. Also a reason why a lot of people like to go for these kind of in-base fast age up strategies with China. And of course has the livestock available. Yeah, that's pretty much the opening here for China. 700 coin being the first shipment for him. Just look at the beautiful colors that his base has, like nice vibrant red. Is anyone noticing this as well? Beautiful base, very colorful base. Gotta say, first time I'm actually noticing the design of China fully. Head over to Feldherr Tobi, can maybe see what he's up to. So I'm not sure what's going through his mind, to be honest. I mean, he's doing the standard stuff, right? He's sending in 3 settler wagons, building a second trading post, which isn't something you always see, but definitely can benefit from it. Getting his steel traps on time. I guess a little bit late, but not too late. 5 minutes and 20 is okay, but you can get them a lot earlier, especially with his early age up. And 8 vills on coin, 8 on food. And just raiding with some Ulan. Let's see the potential journey of these Ulans real quick. He hasn't really scouted anything of his opponent, which is very unfortunate. When you have Ulans out, you can instantly head out to where his hunts are and just get insane raids and insane idols. But now that you haven't scouted his base, it's 50-50, or I guess even worse, because you're literally just marching into his base and you don't know where he's got his villages, you don't know where he's got his line of sight, so he's going to see you a mile away. In this case, he does see these Ulans a mile away, but LukasL just being such a pro. I'm going to say he's a pro. He's not going to lose that village. He's going to survive. Yeah, being such a pro, he realizes he can take those 2 Ulan very easily with his Explorer and TC Fire. Nice play by him. Not really idling much there. Really, really cool. I love the fact that some of these very good players, it takes so much for you to idle them, right? They are so... They won't move. If you try to idle them with a unit that can't kill these villagers effectively, they literally won't budge. They just stand still. And they'll look at you and laugh at you. It's very funny, actually. You can see LukasL just making the most of that situation right there. And I wonder when his age up's going to come in. With the 700 coin being fully gathered, actually 200 coin is still on the floor. 700 wood being sent in. After the 700 coin actually finds himself this food treasure that we did talk about earlier. Definitely going to come into use for the 2,000 food that he's going to need later on. And then I would assume with the 700 wood, it's going to start adding a marketplace. Aging up with the porcelain tower in age 3 or 2H3. Beautiful age up, big fan of this. Porcelain tower has a 4 wood trickle, and I think it differs in terms of what resource you select. I'm not quite sure, but definitely has a 4 wood trickle, which is huge. And then of course has many trickles from the consulate that he can kind of switch allies with. Additional cows being picked up here from Feldherr Tobi. I guess this is not really worth mentioning because kind of reached the stage where these cows aren't going to have much effect. It's going to take ages for them to fatten up, but we're going to have to see. Maybe they do have their play later on. It's not going to be Chinese cows, that's one thing for sure. Would assume Tobi is aging up himself. Actually, it feels like this is a really bad age up here for Tobi. 7-minute age up. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like he could have aged up at least 30 seconds earlier. He went for the 700 wood. Interesting. So he went for the 700 wood, just gathered the coin with his seller wagons. So that would explain. I guess he wanted to save a shipment, but he wanted to save a shipment because he realized if he sent in the coin, he probably needs wood as well for his houses and other stuff as well. So ideally what you do with Germany is send in the 700 wood and 700 coin, or the 1k wood in H3. But yeah, smart move by him for sure. I'm going to assume he's going to be very aggressive now with the 700 wood. He must be. And then has a shipment ready in H3. Also scouting the age up from his opponent. Porcelain Tower. Oof. Actually just missing the scouting. Oh, that is so unfortunate. He could literally see the age up right there, but I guess he now really doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know if he's aging. He doesn't know if he's going to expect like a side barracks, a big ooga booga push. I would assume Feldherr Tobi is of course smart, but still very unfortunate here. Doesn't really find anything. Doesn't even find the hunts properly, I think. This area just still black for him. Does, of course, now see the age up from LukasL, I guess, on the top right. Porcelain Tower. Just want to double check. Yeah, it doesn't give anything upon aging up. Does get the Summer Palace army, though. So the Winged Pikemen with the Chukunu. Also, one thing to note here is that this Chinese explorer has the chance to train disciples, or every unit that it kills can spawn or has the chance to spawn a disciple. And I think one of these disciples were the ones that he spawned from killing those Ulans. Fun fact. I didn't actually know that before. Germany now in H3. Getting some war wagons from his stable. Also sending in some war wagons from his home city. Interesting move. Interesting move indeed. War wagons, of course. I guess they're very resilient. They're going to have a lot of HP, able to do a lot of damage. But you also have to keep in mind, skirmishes in Chukunu are most likely going to be trained from H3 China, but maybe not. In this case, LukasL did kind of expect him to go for some sort of H4 timing, but in this case, he's actually going to play full H3. I like this move a lot. I like the adaptation. Maybe H4 would have been too greedy and would have given his opponent way more than he needed to have. But I've seen him go for an H4 against France, and in this case, skirmish is going to counter the war wagons. He's also expanding with the aggressive village, which is of course going to provide a lot of protection for these villages and also give him another hunt. Also going to be very hard to raid his base, because he does have a very compact base, and he's going to make the pathfinding from these Ulans terrible. And actually now getting the Meteor Hammers and the Iron Flails, trying to catch some of these Ulans, and there's going to be a huge value here because Ulans do start to add up when you kill a lot of them in terms of kind of total resource lost. Very passive game here from both sides. Not really sure what they feel, what they think is going to happen, what they kind of want to head towards. Just feel like China changed his strategy last minute, but maybe this is exactly what he planned to do, go H3, but he needs some time. War wagons now in a mass of 6, and this is kind of in a mass of 8, sorry. Really big timing push here from Germany, feels like, but it's not the best trade, right? You don't want to trade war wagons versus skirmishes. You probably win that fight, but you'll lose way more than it's worth. There's always that thing, you can kill all of his units, but it doesn't mean you've won the fight, right? Real pro players look at the resources that they won or lost. She lost a villager there. Very unnecessary here by LukasL. Very sloppy by him. That was definitely doesn't need to happen. Explorer from Feldherr Tobi in the front line trying to do some additional tanking damage. Ulans haven't been upgraded yet, so they're not going to have the highest amount of damage and also won't be able to tank a lot of damage, but Feldherr Tobi also taking decent trades on some of these Meteor Hammers, burning down their HP and escaping the shots from the Arquebusiers. I like the fact that LukasL is just trying to bait this fight, right? He wants to wait for those pikes to pop. Yeah, LukasL just waiting for those Changdao to come out on top of those war wagons. That would have been an insane trade. That would have been a game-winning trade right there, but in this case, Feldherr Tobi does back off and training more additional war wagons. Skirmish is being sent in, and the great thing about Germany as well is that even if you do manage to clean up their army, they have a lot of combat potential because H3 is where they want to be. They build up their entire strength around these H3 shipments, and I guess those settler wagons as well. So they have two real good windows economically and also in terms of just using those shipments to buy themselves time. As you can see here, the war wagons are such a huge mass, such huge strength. 300 resources on a single war wagon, very expensive. Just make sure that he kind of gets these skirmishes out of the way, but it's going to be hard. And one thing to know is that China is always just going to get stronger, right? He has the ability to have 220 population space. I think even more, if I'm not mistaken. And eventually his army is going to be so much bigger, so much stronger. And Germany doesn't really have the most spiciest units to deal with it, but he's trying his best. And he's still got a lot of time here, just trying to snipe out some of these Changdao and these skirmishes, trim the numbers down. But not the easiest here for Feldherr Tobi. Kind of trying to micro, but there's a lot of drag box going on here for Feldherr Tobi. Of course, China is very known for the drag box. It's very hard to micro their units. I think maybe Feldherr Tobi needs more skirmishes and more Ulans for sure. Maybe even cannons, to be honest. I mean, if he just has a single cannon, take out all of the Changdao and scope in with some of the Ulans, but easier said than done, of course. Trying to make this War Wagon Ulan skirmisher composition work, but now he's got a lot of disciples to face up against, and these Changdaos, they're just going to be annoying. They don't really counter these skirmishes, obviously, right? They have high hand attack, which is, I mean, I guess they technically kind of do. 18 hand attack is insane versus low HP skirmishes, but skirmishes also have melee damage versus the Changdao. But right now, what these Changdao are doing, they're basically just tanking damage for China to win the skirmisher war. So he just wants to trim down all of the skirmisher numbers, and that's kind of where we said that Tobi might need to be training more skirmishes. But now at this point, he's going to be outmassed severely in terms of skirmish count. That was a terrible trade for Feldherr Tobi for sure. I mean, he lost 3 war wagons, I think, maybe more, and he lost all of his 8 skirmishes, whereas I have to also remember that China received those pikes for free. He received them for free, and the Disciple as well. Disciple able to tank 120 damage and also apply 15 hand attack with a 1.50 rate of fire. So I guess that's kind of the motto from China, just have a lot of cannon fodder. Take good trades like that. That's, I guess, a good bonus to have as China. One of their good bonuses, which many people kind of don't really mention. Feldherr Tobi's base, 28 vills. Obviously, the settler wagons from his starting, age up, and shipments, and just a stable, not a barracks being added. Doesn't really have the opportunity to make skirmishes, and even though he did send in the 700 wood, it's not going to be enough for Germany because they pop quite fast. But he's still ahead in score, and you can just see why, because the strength, of course, that he has. I mean, those war wagons are absolutely an insane mass. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest. I'm really surprised here that LukasL's... he's still got quite a tough challenge in front of him. I mean, that trade that kind of looked good isn't near enough, it seems. He's going to just play this more defensively and just wait his turn. Got a lot of resources to spend. He's got like 4 units in queue right now, so that would explain the military difference right there. Actually switching his consulate to the Germans. So he's going to get a minus 20% reduction on his banner army, which is absolutely insane. Considering the fact that he's got good eco, he's got trickle from his porcelain tower, and now he gets a minus 20% cost on his banner armies. Bruh. That's definitely worthy of a bruh moment right there. Actually getting his silver servants though, very late. Not a big fan of that. Considering the fact he also sent in 700 wood very early on. I think he forgot about this. That would have been so much eco extra. Wonder what China's going to do versus those war wagons, especially when cav combat comes in. Might have to check no cav combat on these war wagons, but I'm sure it's going to follow. 575 HP as well as 15% extra attack damage is going to be quite gnarly. Wonder if Germany can just go full Ulan and war wagons if it's going to be enough, but maybe we should do the Grey Scythe, war wagons, cannons, and some Ulans, maybe some Dobbs. I feel like it could be very effective against China. Ulans actually taking a huge swing here from some of these Changdao, just a full suicide here. Ray having a really hard time raiding the base of China, but also not kind of getting the better angle. And I want to see the scouting of Feldherr Tobi because I believe he hasn't scouted this area. Okay, no, he has. But he could easily just come from this angle and get these villages quite easily, but he's going straight to the middle. Not a big fan of that. Especially as Germany, you need to make sure your raid's on point. That's like one of your things. Your raiding civilization. That's like why many people say if you want to learn how to raid, play Germany. Raiding should definitely be on point here. That's also how he wins the game. Partially. And he's actually going to go for it. Full Alliance coming out with the war wagons. Is it going to be enough? That's the real question. Changdao, of course, being trained in a huge mass. And this is exactly what LukasL was expecting. But you have to keep in mind, LukasL has also kind of been a little bit slacking in terms of training his units, right? He's got so many batches in queue. But I think it's going to be enough. The Changdao are going to work, doing so much damage. And the skirmisher mass in the backline, absolutely incredible. The Explorer of China also in high HP, can tank so much damage. 1,125. And it was nowhere near enough is the answer to my question. Nowhere even close. You know, this may be something, this probably would have been something I would have tried But now watching this, he definitely needs something to deal with those Changdaos. He needs either a higher mass of skirmishes, but I feel like he just needs cannons, do some splash damage, and then just take out most of Changdao and swoop in with the Ulans and just absolutely destroy all of these arquebusiers. But as a result, only going for the 2-unit comp versus the 2-unit comp from his opponent, and definitely has the inferior unit comp and losing his entire mass, basically. Actually getting a stagecoach behind that, and actually the stagecoach just coming in when he loses that fight, so he's going to also lose the TP line. It couldn't get much worse here for Feldherr Tobi. And you can see the score just taking a huge hit. And as soon as Germany loses his mass like that, his score just takes a dip. And you can see China's very stable at this point. Turn off the Fog of War. You can probably see him as span for resources. He's going to have this Bison Hunt available to him. Villagers also protecting those units. Actually did add a barracks. Wonder if he's sending the 1k wood. Nope. Just the 7, 8 skirmishes, 8, 9 Ulan. 9 Ulan now on the way. Trying to go for another timing potential for the Minutemen, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to enough. You'll have to see here. Never know, with the pathing of the E sometimes could definitely work in your favor. But nah, Changdao just snaring onto these Ulans once again. Disciples are also doing some damage, and Skirmish is also just helping out some of these Changdao. But some Ulan do manage to connect onto some of these arquebusiers, but remass from China is there. More Changdaos and more units in the backline. And Feldherr Tobi calling GG. 14 minutes 51 seconds into the game. Interesting game. Tried his hardest, I guess. He really tried to make that Ulan War Wagon composition work, but you could just know, you can kind of feel like it's not going to work unless your opponent forgets to train Changdao or any sort of anti-cav unit, which is, I mean, that's a big gamble to take when you're playing against China, because they get a lot of units for free as well. So it's like, not so sure about that. So, you know, maybe you should kind of resort to great scythe strats on this one. I think it would have actually worked very well against China. Interesting game. Very interesting game. Actually saw an H4 coming in here for LukasL. Wow, very impressive. Maybe just cancelling those batches and just going H4 easily. 34 vills for Feldherr Tobi, 38. So I think Feldherr Tobi had maybe a similar eco to China, but China with all of their extra trickles and their reductions in cost, I think is way better. See actually here, China having way more eco, 4k in total. Military-wise, also on par. Love the fact that China can make quality units as well. So it's not all joking gimmicks with the Chukanu and stuff like that. Very quality units with those Iron Flails, Meteor Hammers, and Skirmishes, of course. Then also more experience towards the end. Got the Villager pop. Just want to see. Feldherr Tobi is... so he's 5 vil pop ahead than his opponent with those Cellar Wagons. And then the resources were quite close to most of the game, but towards the end, LukasL winning those fights, pushing his opponent back, able to take the win there in terms of all resources gathered. LukasL also picking up 7 treasures. I think that was a very notable thing. A lot of food treasures on that map definitely helped them in the early game. Sometimes you see professional players say, wow, those treasures won me the game. I think this would have maybe been one of those games, getting a nice age of time and also being able to age to the 3rd age very easily. But yeah, second game of this series, round 16, goes to LukasL. So right now it's 1-1, and I think we've got quite a series on our hands. Let's see how this progresses. Give me a few more minutes. I'll load up the next game. Big shout out to everyone who's been here for the entire games. And welcome to everyone who's just newly joined. We're just getting started. Just kind of ramping this up. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And hope you guys have been enjoying the stream so far. And I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second series of the UEC tournament. Hopefully you guys are ready, and I'm ready as well. We're watching LukasL playing as the Japanese in the bottom side of the map in the color blue on the map Dunes. And first time I saw this map, I kind of thought to myself, it's a little bit foggy. I wasn't sure if this was like this or what the deal is here, but yeah, it's definitely Dune-y for sure. Kind of reminds you of that movie Dunes. But for now, LukasL, of course, going for potential consular stuff, maybe even just a shrine and a marketplace. We're going to have to see, also have to keep in mind that this is a non-TP map. And on the top side of the map, we have Feldherr Tobi. And not really common to see USA go for a trading post in the early game. But of course, something he could go for in the later stages of the game. Only just chopping villagers or wood with 4 villagers. Trying to send in his first card of the game. Finding a 30 XP treasure in his base. So that's a nice kind of adjustment there to his strategy. We'll get his shipment soon, and also going to need the wood sooner for the CDBs that he's going to be sending in, I would assume. Just have to check his deck. Already selecting his deck, so he's already prepared. And the CDBs most likely going to follow. 200 wood. He gets 3 CDBs, 35% hit points extra on his villagers. They also have more speed, and they also have more damage. What a card right there. Insane card. I really feel like this is a really good start here for the USA civilization. And just look at the map a little bit. Maybe you could see some things going on here. A lot of food treasures for both players to scope out. But I admire that Feldherr Tobi does have the set here for USA. Interesting matchup indeed. Orchard scouting the map, finding himself maybe some of these herds that he will be using later on. And treasure will be picked up here from Japan in his base. Building the orchard. Hasn't really allied yet with anything. Allying with the Portuguese, going for the Heavenly Kami in Age 1. Kind of like this map here for Japan. I think Japan don't necessarily go for trading posts. Can, of course, go for TP. But the fact that this map is a non-TP map isn't really going to affect Japan too much. And I think, if anything, is kind of preferred here for Japan. And the reason why I say this is because now that he's going for a Portuguese consulate into Heavenly Kami, and he's going to spam and just literally cluster the map with shrines, you already know he's A, going to get a lot of XP from these shrines, and B, he's not going to necessarily feel a negative effect from this map not having a trading post. However, if you look at Feldherr Tobi, he is also playing USA, and USA is also a civilization that get XP upon aging up. And he doesn't typically go for TP if it's not right in front of him, right? So it's like, it's an interesting one for sure. Usually you always look at the non-TP maps and you think to yourself, okay, this is going to be one-sided. One Civ is going to pretty much have to do an entire different strategy to what they're used to. I just saw treasure being picked up there by Feldherr Tobi. 80 wood. Definitely worth mentioning there. Very cool map. Very open map. I guess we saw this a lot in the ranked pool, I believe. Maybe it was a different one. I think it's actually a different one called Sahara or something, where you have the 2 native posts in the middle. And then hunts just spawn very far away, like dry as hell, which makes sense. Desert type map. The copper mines on this map. Also have the Berbers, I want to mention, for anyone that's wondering. Camels, which are essentially melee goons, as well as the Berber Nomads, which are similar to CDBs. Very limited amount of trees, so it doesn't seem like this would be a good map if you're going for like a heavy wood strategy. More treasures being found here from Feldherr Tobi. 100 XP, something he might want to pick up. XP is like a scarce resource on maps like these. Doesn't matter if it's Grand Chacao, Sirius Pampas. Japan trying to take this food treasure. Guarded by 2 coyotes. Second shipment ready here for Feldherr Tobi. Almost a line half for a split second. A lot of Age 1 cards. I mean, that's a Spanish immigrant in his deck. Could have definitely worked out for him. 1.70 XP trickle. Also gets the outpost wagon, which he can't necessarily use unless he goes for natives. Or maybe a loan for that XP trickle could maybe be a thought, but I don't think it's going to be worth it. I just feel like XP is such a good resource to have. It just adds to your entire momentum. Shipments and timings can just be so good. Better than any sort of economic bonus that you go for. Sometimes. Let's get that 100 XP treasure. And that's going to give him almost his next shipment, I think. Yep. Also very decent age up time for him. I think it was like 3 minutes and 5. Aging up with the Virginia. So this is, of course, the most standard age up here for USA. We head over to the bottom side of the map and check out Japan. We can actually see he's aging up the Toshogu Shrine. With the 2 orchards in a very nice position here. Blocking off some of these trees. Making this a really hard base to push. And also the consulate, which he's most likely going to now use the benefits from. More shrines being added. Currently on 3 shrines when this goes up, or 2 shrines, should I say. So, matchup alone, Japan versus USA. I think this is going to be, I don't know, I think this is actually USA's game. And the reason why I say this is because I think their H3 timing is going to hit no matter what, right? Their H3 timing is going to hit no matter what weather, no matter what map they play on or what opponent they play against. They're always going to get their H3 Gatling gun timing and then add a fortress behind or whatever economic scaling they have. And the reason why I also feel like this is going to be a USA favored game is because I look at Japan and I realize that they don't necessarily need to leave their base in terms of gathering food with the cherry orchards, but they do need to leave their base for coin. And I'm not so sure how I feel about the coin mine spawn here from LukasL. He's only got 1 coin mine in his base. The second one is in front of his base, so he's not even behind his base. And they're very raidable, in my opinion, right? So, I don't know. I feel like a lot of shrines could fall as well because they also have to be placed in awkward positions because these hunts spawn quite spread. So this could really be good here for USA. I really feel like this could be good. And Feldherr Tobi also very experienced with his civilization choice. It's not like he's going to give LukasL much breathing room either. And you can already see what is going on. Did he actually do it? He actually went for the Spanish immigrant card. I was saying that as a joke, and he actually went for it. What an absolute beast. That is insane. And I guess with the native post or with the post he gets, he can turn it into an outpost. For some reason, I mixed that up with a trading post wagon. Of course, an outpost. That's going to be very good with the strategy. You build a barracks next to it, and you've essentially got yourself a really strong front base. Now sending in the state militia and going to spawn them out from the outpost. So who needs an H3 timing when you have an even better timing? An H2 state militia timing push here could be huge. Could just absolutely crumble LukasL and just really devastate his build order here. He needs time, and that's not something he's going to be having access to. Him also getting the pikes as well from his Spanish immigrants. So the Terresio pikemen just synergize so well. And don't know why I didn't see this coming from a mile away. This strategy is made for playing against Japan, in my opinion. More shrines being placed on the side of LukasL, trying to make up for lost shrines. Not sure if it's going to be to any avail here. Just feels like it's such awkward placement here for the shrines. Not the greatest map for Japan, I believe. And following this up with a 700 coins. So this could be actually a nice setup for a semi-fast fortress. Something you've seen Lionheart do quite a bit. A strategy that I actually felt was really, really good. I wanted to cover the strategy a while back. So essentially, you go for the Terresio pikeman state militia push. And then you age behind, I believe. If you're able to, of course. As we switch over to LukasL, we can maybe see what he's doing. Any Nagis. His base is a lot more silent than on the other side of the map. I can literally hear my own breath. Single villager gathering coin. Everything else is just quiet. Not really much going on here. Very effective strategy at this point. Full idle coming in for LukasL. And if you thought Japan's early game was very slow in the beginning, you have to imagine how much slower it's going to get with these villagers now being idle. But will the Nagis be able to do something? If he manages to time this with the Yumis, which is a terrible card to ship in, by the way. Maybe the Minutemen. This could be really, really good. Just needs Yumi at this point. I mean, he can't make Ashes versus State Militia. He's just going to get wrecked. Yumi is now doing some damage to the regulars, but look at the damage already. And just look at how much units he has. I mean, he's got direct counters towards these Nagis, direct counters to these Yumis. They only have 18 range. State Militia have a lot of HP, especially when they're in more mass. If he micros this correctly without taking too many bad trades, he needs to snipe these Yumis right now when he has the chance. But instead he's sniping the Nagis. Maybe that's the better choice. Get the Nagis down low. It's the harder unit here to kill. He also needs to be wary of the Yumis sniping these Terresio pikemen, which is essentially some of the only anti-cap that he has available. Does have those regulars still alive, but will it be enough? It looks like LukasL is definitely winning the micro trade, doing the ring around the rosy with these Nagis. Still all in here for Feldherr Tobi. Still has an opportunity to kind of do some damage to these Nagis, but a little bit getting a little bit too out microed by LukasL. You can definitely see it, and maybe it's just due to the fact that he doesn't have enough units, or doesn't have the units that he wants to have. More Yumi's being trained. A second batch of Yumi. Ouch. Ouch. So the reason why I was led to believe the shipment is quite bad is because the cost that this shipment has is not that great, right? So that's 550 resources for 5 Yumi, or something like that, right? 525. Did I do the correct math? 525 for Yumi? That's terrible for like an H2 shipment. So that's why I've been led to believe that this is a bad card. But I guess it's a good card in this case because he needs the Yumi, but he could also just train the Yumi. But seeing as he did go for the stable opening, he's kind of set himself up for failure. That's what it feels like. Or maybe not. We're going to have to see. Nagi's definitely helped him win that last engagement, kind of push him back, but he still got idled and he still lost units. That's without a doubt. Of course, he doesn't want to necessarily train Yumis when he's trying to build shrines, so it's very hard here for Japan. I can see it. Can't be as greedy as you'd like to, just due to that early aggression. Maybe he needs to fully understand that this could just potentially be a bluff from his opponent, and you check out Feldherr Tobi's macro, you can actually see he's stacking for an age up with the state capital coming in, and this building right now is Feldherr Tobi's wet dream, in my honest opinion. When this state capital goes up, he's gonna get 300 build XP. You know how much XP that is on a non-TP map? That's like winning lottery almost. And he's going to have his next shipment ready, as well as potentially being able to send in the Virginia plan. So USA does not struggle at all against the... Yeah, it feels like most civilizations fight against the map. But in this case, Feldherr Tobi is going to win against this map for sure. And also researching the knighthood or the statehood, which gives him double XP upon aging up. If he got 300 XP before or 400 XP before, he's going to get double that. This is just beautiful build order here from Feldherr Tobi, and I can just see this being so hard for Japan to deal with. I'm just going to pretty much be forced to play H2, and he's going to have to just march Naginatas into Gatling guns whilst he's losing all of his Yumi and his Nagis. So it's just going to be horrible, but if there's anything we know about LukasL is that he's obviously a very good player, and he's been in worse situations, far worse situations. We have to deal with this effectively. Let's see. Because a lot of experience under his belt, maybe with Japan and with every other civilization that he plays. Not quite sure how much Japan he's played. I assume a lot. I'm sending the 4 vills after the double 5 Yumi. I would assume eco-wise he's really not in a great position, but he has been adding shrines behind this with the Heavenly Kami, which also gives extra eco, as well as makes those shrines cheaper. And I love the push here from LukasL, kind of coming to his opponent before his opponent can come to him. And this could be really good game winning if he manages to take out this outpost and even just take out the barracks as well. That could really hurt USA here. And that's the experience right there. He just knows what to expect. He knows if his opponent's not going to push him, if he's not going to defend this outpost and the barracks, he must be aging. And indeed, age up now, of course, spotted on the top right. Monagi's being trained, actually cancelling his agreements from the consulate, might be allying with the Japanese after this, taking down the free barracks. If this was a Kai's Clan game, you'd actually see Kai's Clan maybe contest this a little bit, just to buy himself additional time and maybe even just defend. But you can see LukasL, it's just, he's got too many Nagis for Feldherr Tobi to deal with. And I wonder what Feldherr Tobi's doing. 2 shipments stacked up, sending in the 54th State Massachusetts card, which is a card that upgrades his regulars as well as his state militia. Also gets the 5 regulars from his age up. Honestly, Japan with this Nagi mass is very scary. Very hard to deal with these Nagis if you're Feldherr Tobi. Almost like he needs goons. I generally don't feel like the regulars are going to do it. But maybe just pure musketeers could work with some Gatling guns. Is probably what he should be switching into. And you can see sending in the infantry units as well as following this up with the Gatling guns, popping out the Teresio pikemen. But now Feldherr Tobi's got a lot of stuff on his plate right now. If we switch over to LukasL, we can actually see he's charging into the base, and he wants to kind of be overly aggressive and mask whatever he plans behind this. So he's probably sending in eco shipments behind this, and indeed sending in 4 villages behind this, might even send in wood behind this as well, add some more shrines, and just be overly aggressive here. And he can't really lose this entire mass with the Nagis, right? He can always just run away if it gets too hectic. It's a really, really smart play here by LukasL for sure. Could have finished that Nagi batch actually. Not sure if he did. No, he didn't. He had macroed that a little bit better. Could have finished that Nagi batch, but it's okay. There's so many Nagis to work with. I think the unit composition here for Feldherr Tobi needs to be musketeers and Gatling guns, essentially. Just Feldherr Tobi's, he's on the timer right now. He really needs to buy himself time. And he's doing a really good job at doing so, but the Gatling guns now coming out. Interesting. I felt like LukasL was trying to go for that, but obviously doesn't know what the army size is from his opponent. Nice pop there, nice bait there from Feldherr Tobi, but in the meantime, Japan, 14 shrines with the Toshogu shrine. Eco pretty much intact, double 4 villagers being sent, so he's on 37 vills. His eco is definitely recovered from what we saw before. Started off with double 5 Yumis, and now it's turned into like almost a full shrine, and an absolutely incredible eco with Heavenly Kami. Just like, he turned that around 180 for sure. So Japan in a better economic position, but USA in a better military position with those regulars on the way. And just realizing that he needs to make regulars with the Gatling guns, and that's his window. Interesting game. Another shipment ready as well. Also love the fact that Japan is able to send in so many shipments as well, which you kind of don't believe. Like, already sending in 4 shipments on a non-TP map is pretty admirable if you think about it. It's due to all those shrines that he's building and some of the fights that he's been taking. Civil Servant's being researched 11 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. Feldherr Tobi on 26 vills. Check out his next few shipments. I mean, there's a lot of option here for USA. If he wins a fight, he could have sent in a fortress. And then he could have followed that up with blockhouses and just increase his eco. Or he could send in another Gatling guns if he can't win a fight and he just needs those extra Gatling gun power. He could send in the Ulans, which I don't think is very viable against Japan. But maybe start to poke his opponent's base, and he's holding on to that shipment for sure. Does he have enough anti-cap? Actually sending the Ulans. Maybe it will be the right shipment. Could be some nice body blocking damage versus these Naginatas. Of course, have high damage with the Gatling guns and the regulars, but maybe you should wait for that shipment at this point. You see, LukasL does want to go for it. Impressive. We'd always kind of expect him to just crush this fight, but maybe not. Is he? No, just expanding for coin. Keeps on going back and forth, but the more he waits, the worse it's going to get. But waiting for the 5 batches of Nagis to come from the other side and actually going to surround his opponent from all sides. But he's losing Nagis like none tomorrow. He's got a lot of units to deal with, and he's also H2 with those Naginatas. So they technically should absolutely get wrecked. But, you know, Naginatas are considered Lancer-style infantry cavalry units, which I find very surprising since they don't necessarily have no Lancer multipliers. But in this case, does lose half of his Naginata mass. Takes out the 3 Gatling guns, but I think he lost far more than it was worth. But maybe he's lost more and bought himself additional time to maybe make more, if that makes sense. And with Japan, you're able to remass so crazy. So this could be a good kind of opportunity here for LukasL to maybe just buy himself some additional time. But he's losing more Nagis, losing more Besterios, losing more Yumis. And now the villagers that were previously migrated onto this coin actually having to be evacuated as well. So that was a very, very bad fight here for LukasL for sure. He just waited so long, took so much damage from those units, but even so, I think this is so hard for him, and it's only going to get worse with those Ulans now coming in. And if they were even in that fight a little bit earlier, that would have been insane. I feel like Feldherr Tobi had a lot of time still available to him. He could have just waited 30 seconds for those Ulans to arrive and push with the Ulans. There would have been no chance for LukasL, and wow, USA actually just single-handedly taking out all of the Nagis. I just want to quickly check out the Nagi multiplier real quick. A lot of people say these units are Lancer-type units, but I don't really get it. Because all units have kind of infantry multipliers, if I'm not mistaken, right? Cavalry units, but maybe not. 1.50 versus infantry, so really good against state militia, but I guess they counter each other when talking about the veteran regulars versus Naginatas, right? They both have multipliers against each other. I guess it's true what people say, Naginatas are Lancer-style units. Just H2 in this case doesn't really have any upgrades on them either, I don't think. No CAF HP, nothing. Just gonna absolutely get wrecked. Minutemen now being popped. Could maybe go for the full surround with some of these Nagis and some of the Yumi, but just doesn't have enough military mass. The 3 Minutemen constantly coming out from the TC of America, able to just pump out units and pump in units. The Japanese base. Village is now going down. Orchards actually being sent in from the home city and under fire, but I think it will go up. If these went down, this is just gonna be devastating. More Yumis, more Nagis being trained, but to no avail. USA looking very strong here. Has to be expected, right? Looked really good there for Japan, but you can see they struggle against Gatling guns and musketeer type units like any other civilization. And that Nagimas looked very scary, but in the end, after seeing those Nagis fall, I've definitely kind of feel like my trauma versus Naginatas has been healed after watching LukasL lose those Nagis versus those musketeers. I always felt like Naginatas unstoppable, always just really scared about them, but more Yumi's falling, more pikemen also kind of snaring onto some of these Yumis, and Ulan's just absolutely cleaning up, and I think that one hurt. That one hurt for sure, because LukasL definitely Yeah, I don't think he expected that to go like that. I can imagine the next game is going to be fire. I think he's definitely going to step it up in the next game because that one hurt for sure. I can feel it. Yeah, tricky one. Just tried to pick Japan on Dunes, which on paper sounds pretty okay, but I think the USA pick is almost more genius if you think about it. Just a really good civilization. No matter what weather, as we said before, able to kind of, yeah, hold up a fight and put up a fight. And wow, what a game. What a series so far. All right, let's check out the post game and straight waste no time and head into the next one. Oh my, oh my. That is a lot of resource extra to have than your opponent. 6k extra resources than USA. That is brutal. And that's after double 5 Yumis in H2. Yeah, that hurt. Yeah, really horrible fight for him. But he tried. I don't think... Maybe he should have done the Kynesie strategy, go H3. Could have maybe potentially worked. He managed to squeeze in H3 there, as we saw before. Just staying H2, playing USA's game is just not going to work, I don't think. We saw Kynesie do an insane build earlier versus something similar to this. Worked like a charm. Yeah, look at this. Same amount of units than your opponent in H3 versus H2. Double villagers looking really tasty. See the eco. Wow, just skyrocketing is absolutely insane. Never ceases to amaze me. Do really want to quickly check the export if... okay, only 200 export here for LukasL. All right, let's head into the next game. Update the score as well. So yeah, so far 2-1 here for LukasL, winning the first game with Hauser versus Aztecs. The second game was won for LukasL with his main civilization, China. And the third game was won for Tobi, obviously, with his main civilization, USA. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Welcome back, AOE3 community. Welcome back, UEC tournament lovers, to the second series of today's cast. It's like we're just getting started, but we've been in some hectic games and some real messy battles. And in this case, second series, third game, or fourth game, my apologies. You see a similar matchup that we saw before, China versus Germany. And Feldherr Tobi playing as the German civilization, building the marketplace in the early stages of this game. And nice position on this marketplace, securing kind of the silver mine. It was like he's definitely putting this marketplace in an intentional spot. Of course, something a lot of good players do. And other side, we see LukasL playing as the Chinese. And if you're wondering why both players are able to play their civilizations again, after the third game, I believe these the civ rules or the civ selection gets reset, so they're able to play the civs again. So I'm sure we're going to see some more Hausa and maybe even some more Aztecs later on, seeing as that are some of the stronger civilizations for these players to play. But for now, LukasL chopping some additional wood in his base, going for pretty much the same strategy that he went for earlier, I would believe, going for the trading post in age 1, adding a village later on with the 180 wood that he's going to be gathering. And of course, from his starting crates, also starts off with a semi-fattened goat almost. One thing to mention is that we are playing on the map Darker. That is what I know this map as. Heading over to the, I guess, shoreline, picking up some of these water buffalo. I think you have a total of 6 water buffalo that you can get. Of course, China wants these water buffalo. Also want to mention that the disciple that China do start off with has 5 movement speed, 0.50 less than your native scout for France, for example. Could say maybe China has the advantage here against some of these livestock animals. Also, in terms of natives, we have the Akan. There's a tech here called the Akan Cocoa Beans. And you may have or may not noticed in the upcoming patch, they've actually nerfed this card or this technology. And I don't fully remember what the exact nerf was, but it's definitely minus work rates. But I think they've actually changed it that it affects more resources. I'm not quite sure, but just keep an eye on this Akan Cocoa Bean technology in the next patch, because that's something they've changed for sure. Maybe specifically designed for this map or some other scenarios. In terms of early age 1 here for Germany, sending the cellar wagons as his hunting dogs research. Really good time on the hunting dogs, I think. Sometimes you see it come in like 1 minute or earlier if you have nice treasures in your base. Of treasures. Let me just check out some of the treasures that Feldherr Tobi picked up. 35 food. Other than that, not really much else. Actually, 100 XP treasure, so definitely much else. Really early cellar wagons coming in for Tobi, but LukasL also finding himself a wood treasure. Could be nice for him. It doesn't get sniped. Feldherr Tobi doesn't actually know about this location, but he's just hovering around this area and by chance finds these explorers, but is a little bit too late for comfort, and as a result will not be able to snipe this treasure, which would have definitely hurted the hurt the Chinese side. Total livestock here for China. He has 1 goat and 5 water buffalo. So once again, winning the livestock war is so big. You need to win these livestock wars against China. Also love the fact that he's already preemptively herding in his wild elephants. That is a 1000 IQ move right there. If you know anything about this map, you know that these wild elephants have terrible walking distance, right? These elephants will start off in front of your base and they will literally walk all the way over here to your enemy's base sometimes. So you need to herd in these elephants for sure. And even if he's sacrificing villager seconds, he's going to have this hunt available to him. You can already see these elephants are like, nah, I'm out. I'm out. Fuck this. Respectfully. Excuse my language. Treasures being picked up here on the side of China. Wonder why he's actually finding all of these treasures. 85 food as well as a wood treasure. Really good. Also now that he's going to be aging up soon, could maybe even eat a water buffalo here. Sending in the consular card H1 T export. So I like the fact that the developers, they added this card in H1 and it just feels like they've done something right. And they do a lot of great things, no question. But I haven't actually seen a card as effective as T export in the recent patches. For example, no one really uses the siege longbows for Brits or the ranger card for Brits. But you always see China players at least have T export in their deck. So the fact that they added this deck and it's well received from these professional players just shows you that they're starting to kind of understand the synergy of the higher level supremacy 1v1 competitive scene a little bit more, I think. Definitely need to give credit where credit is due. And another treasure being picked up here for China. Insane. Also, one thing I want to mention about China is that they're able to train villagers in their age up time. Huge. Also kind of adds to their already great eco depending on what they go for. Age up wise as well as strategy choice. Summer Palace being the first age up choice, consular going up. We already talked about this in the last game, so we already know what to expect here. The Russians into the consular wagon, or sorry, the blockhouse wagon. Germany actually does get the faster age up by far, really fast age up here for Feldherr Tobi. So this is usually what you expect to see. You expect a faster age up for Germany than China, or quite a slow age up for China. Also getting a fast TP, so feels like Feldherr Tobi is coming on smoke in this game. He is on fire. He feels like if he wins this game, he wins this series. So he's going to pretty much try his hardest to win this game. And you can tell it in his, early momentum that he already has, almost reminding me of some of the best players in this game, just having such early, huge momentum difference. 700 wood being sent as the first shipment here for Germany. Interesting. 700 wood being sent as the first shipment. Actually added a dock. Oh, kind of missed that dock in transition. Going for water players, Germany. Oh, wow. He might be doing too much here, though. We're going to have to see. Not really something you see Germany do too much. Germany doesn't have the best water. They actually have some of the worst water in the game. But I guess maybe the settler wagons chopping wood. Eco potential is there. More than other civilizations, maybe. I could see that being something. But in terms of military strength, yeah, not much there for Germany. I don't know what his deck is looking like. He's got rendering plant. Nice. Doesn't have fish market. Or any other water cards. I'm not quite sure about this, but maybe it could just be like a nice little side adjustment. Something you do in the beginning that pays off a lot in the later game. And I think Germany is one of those civilizations that can kind of sneak that in. Maybe expecting LukasL to stay in his base, go H3 and not really do much, but and is going to eat this up for breakfast. All the time is given to him. And add that blockhouse, consular coming in, and he's going to get a really comfortable H3. He's going to have all the food in the world with those elephants. And of course, those yaks. You really need to question yourself, is this worth it? Maybe just, earlier the H3 strategy that he tried didn't work, but I don't think it was the strategy that wasn't good for Feldherr Tobi. I think it was more his unit composition that he had in that first matchup that these guys had. She saw the second trade post being added by LukasL, by the way. Just want to check out the scouting here from LukasL. Scouted the dock with the disciples, so he knows about the double docks, and this was a recent scout. His disciples probably somewhere over here, I would assume. Really good scouting there by LukasL. That he was able to see this is big, seeing as there are walls in the middle of the map. 700 wood following the 700 coin. Age of time, it's going to be 6 minutes and 30 seconds roughly, so really good age of time here, or fairly decent age of time. I always like to compare it to the Piroshiki Fast Fortress with the halberdiers and pikes. It's usually 6 minutes and 30, but you also see Robert age about 5 minutes and 30 with the Spanish, if I remember correctly. Ulan's pouring into the base of his opponent, but very hard map to pick Germany on in terms of rating. And I think Germany does too well against maps or on maps with chokes, like for example New England or stuff like that. You really have to position your units correctly, but it's still very hard in my opinion. See you from a mile coming in. Only needs to kind of pay attention to 2 chokes. Feldherr Tobi now adding a stable. So 700 wood into 3 settler wagons. I guess from the 700 wood added the stable. Won't be aging up to the 3rd age anytime soon, but could potentially get a competitive age up if he starts to switch some villagers onto coin and send in the 700 coin next. I think he could still be aging up, but he's actually taking this water to another level. So it's a full-blown water here from Feldherr Tobi. Very interesting. Not sure if this is going to work out for Feldherr Tobi, especially against China. I mean, it's always a good idea to go for water and take the advantages that the map provides, but you just have to remember who you're playing against. So already has this Age of coming in, Porcelain Tower coming in. Cancelling his agreements. Immediately probably going to ally with maybe the Germans, get a nice trickle there, which we didn't talk about in the last game, so you can, of course, spend your export to get some trickles from the German embassy. All lands coming in. Want to turn off the fog of war here for Feldherr Tobi. See what he knows. He knows the elephants are under heavy fire here from these villagers' knives. Tools together. Yeah, not really much going on in this game. You can see the walls being added. When you see Germany playing like this, then you already know what's going to happen. It's just going to be a very long, drawn-out game or a very passive game. Maybe too much respect here from both sides. Of course, Feldherr Tobi needs to be sure that he wins this game to win the series, but he also needs to make sure that he doesn't completely abandon his game plan. So if he had some sort of H3 game plan that he wanted to do, or just a certain way of playing Germany that's the strongest, he needs to make sure that he doesn't do something completely out of character, in my opinion. And it feels like this is very out of character. And it doesn't seem like it's going to work too much, but we're going to have to see. I mean, the wars definitely could be effective if he makes more of them, and he is double layers of walls. So he's going to have to really clench and hold this Chinese push. And if he does, he's going to have the better eco. But just to keep in mind, he doesn't necessarily have the best unit scaling in terms of range infantry units. The war wagon's definitely going to have to carry this, in my opinion, or the Ulans, for example. But I think it's going to be the war wagons that's really going to hold this together if it turns into like an H3 huge fighting game. Still gathering so much wood here. I wonder if schooners would have been here an option for Germany if that's a card they have. I generally don't know if Germany has schooners just because I've never seen Germany use schooners before, but I feel like schooners would have been a card you send in if you have it. So they've removed schooners for certain civilizations, so it's really hard to keep track. Yeah, very late age up here for Germany for sure. Still not in. 9 minutes into the game. It's not the latest, but it's still not even close. That's the scary thing. Actually building an outpost. I like the outpost. Kind of expecting some sort of water raids potentially, but LukasL is not planning to do anything like that. I can tell you exactly what he's planning to do. He's just simply going to stack up for an H4. When he's given this much time, he's going to do what he wanted to do in the first game. He's going to decide to go H4, and he's already got the H4 deck ready. He's got 2 Flying Crows, he's got Changdao, he's got 17 Skirmishes, and he's also going to get a nice age up policy, which could also give him a bonus. Maybe be the, what is it called? The Confucian Academy, but it could have also been the other one, the white building. I always forget the name. In this case, Confucian Academy coming up. It's going to trickle in Flying Crows over time. Also has a shipment ready, and he's going to have upgraded H4 units. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that Feldherr Tobi can easily go H4 behind H3 with this water eco. So if he's smart, he will be stacking resources to go H4 himself if he wants to. If he needs to, is the better question. Yeah, can't really get much done with those raids. Trying to... Oof, nice raid there. Finally does find actually a little bit of opening here, but only one Vil going down. Does at least scout the age up, which is, I guess, the most important, right? That's what we said. If he knows about the age up, if he knows he might need to go H4, he's going to go for it, but actually not going H4. Hard decision to make. Of course, don't know if your opponent's got the H4 deck ready, and I'm going to assume Feldherr Tobi doesn't really have an H4 deck, but there's also not many shipments Germany usually have an H4. Kind of more H3 oriented, but he's going to miss his timings. He's going to have an insane eco, but at this point, he's given like 10 minutes of the game to China. So China's pretty much stable as well. His eco's not going to be as great, but he's definitely going to be able to do some stuff here. Let's see. Water eco is something you definitely never can kind of count out. It's just such a huge bonus to have. You saw, I think, UKT versus Kynesie. Kynesie just single-handedly win the game because he went water and other things. Or, of course, maybe people would argue the civilization choice, but water is always such a huge advantage when you do it correctly. Rat and Shields following, and this is exactly what I expected in the first game, and interesting to see if those Rat and Shields are going to be good enough. Rat and Shields don't have any multipliers against units, instead just high hand attack. Gonna have to talk about them in a little bit. Expanding for resources on the side of LukasL. Total of 33 Vils. Porcelain Tower trickling in coin at 4 coin per second. And then he has eco with these free banner army units. And of course the free flying crows that he receives. That's eco essentially, right? You don't need to have 50 Vils when you have free units. Something you definitely need to account for. Oh man, don't know how this is gonna go. Skirmish is being trained, but will it be enough? Almost gonna remind me of the Hauser game where you saw just too many units being trained from one side and the other side having all the eco in the world but no way to spend it, and he's on a double stable on a double barracks, and I don't think it's gonna be enough. And I'm not talking in terms of spending the resource, I'm more talking in terms of time. And there's triple layers of wars trying to buy time, but I don't think it's gonna be enough because you have to remember that China also has pikes, which you're never really gonna see another civilization train pikes just to burn down walls. They usually have musketeers, but pikes are just so much better, usually. Nice raid there, nice idol as well for China. Huge. Now only 8 skirmishes versus a total of 15 arquebusiers, as well as some Chukunu in the front line, tanking some additional damage. Nice micro on LukasL side. Kind of putting those Chukunu in the front line just to kind of take those extra hits. Just to make sure he wins this skirmish war. Not the best siege on these Rat and Shields, but also giving information to his opponent, right? Rat and Shields, And if LukasL doesn't burn this wall down fast enough, you can maybe see the next ship in here for Feldherr Tobi to be Ulans or just simply train Ulans, because the anti-cav is very low here for LukasL, and I'm very surprised that he's actually pushing this. Because he has no anti-cav, basically. More raids coming in, another villager going down. Pike trying to take off some of these Ulans, but do finally free those villagers out. Sending in the 18 skirmishes, or 17 skirmishes, age 4. Wow. It's got some Changdao, I guess. Will it be enough is the real question. Maybe just realizes the timing from Germany is so off, but now marching into the base with the Rattan shields in the front line, just absolutely finding anything he can find, anything he can pretty much get his hands on is something he's going to want to kill. Only one Ulan there to deal with the Rattan shield, but he has so many Rattan shields against pure war wagons. This is going to be okay. 20 hand attack versus 500 HP veteran war wagons with some additional pikes and even the Explorer in the backline with the skirmishes kind of doing some additional damage to the German skirmishes. Ulan's actually popping up from the town center from Germany. This could be a really good fight here from Germany, even popping out the Minutemen, but the Rattan shields might be too much. And I'm not sure if he has enough Ulans. The Rattan shield is still alive. Skirmish is also still alive. All of the war wagons actually getting absolutely destroyed. Disciples being trained in the backline, also losing most of his Ulans as well because they haven't actually been... Oh, never mind. They have been upgraded. Changdao following behind. Looked like a really good pop there with the Minutemen and with everything he had. But imagine if he didn't train those war wagons and had hand attack cavalry units instead. That would have been a complete game changer right there. Beautiful pop there from Feldherr Tobi for sure. And if he just makes more skirmishes, I think he's probably going to be able to hold this actually, because he's got the water eco behind this. That's the thing you need to remember, right? His water eco is unfazed by this. Doesn't even have any... Does he have... He has 8 villagers or 9 villagers in the TC. This is actually going to take a turn for Feldherr Tobi. He might just win this game and win this fight. He's killing all of the skirmishes and he's got additional wargons coming out and even had the double stunner pop on the standby to deal with these units. And as a result, LukasL has to back off, and this is a great position for Feldherr Tobi. He's stopped the H4 push and he's got a lot of eco and water. Very impressive. That was really clutch with those Ulans. What a game. How's it going to go? I mean, it feels like LukasL really tried his luck there with those Rattan shields, but just... I don't know about this. More Changdao coming out. Just gonna remaster real quick and just, I guess, head right in, I think. He hasn't got much time. I don't think he doesn't want to leave Germany's water eco for too long because he knows his eco is probably worse. These are age 4. I'm not sure if these are... No, these are age 2 Changdaos with some disciples and age 4 skirmishes, and also wants to push the base before these walls go up. Switch over to LukasL. Hasn't got a shipment ready, getting the capitalism from his consulate, upgrading his Changdaos. Feldherr Tobi could maybe add a double barracks and just spam skirmishes. I mean, if he managed to pump out units right now, look how much eco he's stacking. Oh no, he didn't train units. He's training more boats though. Oh no. So what he needed to do is maybe just buy 100 wood. Not even needed. He's got 6 vills on wood. He could just added a second barracks, spam skirmishes like crazy, and he would have been able to hold this. LukasL scores obviously ahead, but you have to imagine he's sending in H4 shipments, whereas the opponent is sending in cav combat, which isn't going to boost his score, I don't think. And he's also sending in H3 shipments. But I mean, if he had the skirmisher mass right here, could just really poke these honored Ashigaru, these honored Aquabusiers, even if they are better. I think he has better eco by far. 59 villas, 60, but China will eventually catch up. Yeah, China playing the safe. He's not going to just march into the base, just burning down additional walls. And oh my god, we kind of forgot about the flying crows. You can see the strength here from China, just the remass potential with all of those cannons and the skirmishes and the H4 potential as well. I think this is going to look really okay for both sides. Now that Feldherr Tobi has more time, but China also has stronger stuff. See, both players very scared at this point. Feldherr Tobi for a split second cancelled the war wagons and he sent in cav combat, and then he wanted to send in the war wagons again, but now he's going to send in the frigate. And you might be thinking to yourself, oof, Feldherr Tobi, what a noob sending the frigate. His opponent doesn't even have any anti-water. GG. But what he actually wants to do is he wants to use the frigate in the fight. So he wants to either send it here, snipe these flying crows, which I don't think is going to work, but maybe just use it to kind of deal some splash damage to these units. Actually getting his arsenal upgrades, so cavalry Koras gives his units 10% extra hand attack, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe see a change here, if it hasn't changed already. That frigate needs to arrive real soon. Might actually be really clutch. Oh my god, look at the eco that he's stacking behind this. Switch over to LukasL. He's also stacking so much eco, and the more time you give China, the more useless your water play essentially becomes, because his eco is pretty much going to catch up. He can add a second TC, he could go for a stagecoach. He's also got trickles, and his eco is just generally good. Now the anti-cav is there here. Therefore, LukasL, he's got enough units to deal with those war wagons as well as the Ulans, and he's got the flying crows. So now that his unit composition looks a lot better, it's a different story here. The TC getting absolutely annihilated. Villagers getting suicided, and I don't think Feldherr Tobi is ready for this. You see how fast that TC went down. Oh my lordy lord. Marketplace getting absolutely wrecked. Stable gonna follow shortly, and the frigate coming in, but where's the... Oh no. Oh no. So maybe just scared of his water eco getting pressured, but now that ship is pretty much useless, and you can see Lucas actually sending us something with way more value. If you thought 3 flying crows was scary, well, imagine having another 2 flying crows on standby. 5 flying crows. How do you beat that with Germany? Unless you make a bunch of culverins, which, you know, he's got a forward artillery foundry, which is just going to go down, and Tobi most likely training culverins. Nope, not even, and oh no, this is not so good. You see the score actually keeping up though for Feldherr Tobi, and Army Mass not looking too decisive at this point. Doesn't really look like he's going to be able to even come close to winning this. Needs to pull something out of the bag fast. Really just crumbles. He looks so good with that defense, but afterwards I feel like he just wanted to go H4. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting. I feel like Feldherr Tobi was like, okay, I won that fight. Maybe it's time for me to go H4, but what he essentially needed to do was just mass up like crazy and try and hold this a second time, and then just be ahead in terms of eco with the fishing boats. That's how his build order kind of works. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much. A lot of volleys from these flying crows taking out the skirmisher mass, which he needs to keep alive to trade against these H4 skirmishers. H3 versus H4, you can already tell how that's going to go. Especially when you're losing numbers now, just going to absolutely not be able to stand and fight. And I think LukasL's pretty much fine at this point. Just going to hover back, burn out some of the buildings of his opponent. Check out the eco behind this for LukasL. Hasn't got a second TC, hasn't got a stagecoach. 41 vills for him, but he's got the trickles and he's got so much resources. And I think that's the most important thing to mention here, is that he's barely having to train units, because this unit composition is so strong already that alone this is going to be twice as strong as the unit composition of his opponent. So he's going to be able to just stack up resources like crazy and maybe even get like insane population space, right? He's already getting the upgrades on his villages, which is going to enable him to have over 200 population space, 220 and beyond, maybe. This fella Tobi is just, he's in shock. Until trying to get the culverins out, lost the artillery foundry, had to rebuild it, kind of train them late as well. Will come out, will kill the flying crows, but at that point more flying crows will follow, and flying crows are also very tanky, 75% range resist and also 285 bombard attack. Ulans also awaiting their arrival. Maybe with these Ulans, he will go for the push. Needs to do something. Losing villages, losing eco, losing houses. Culverins coming out, but in a very forward position. They can just get sniped by these skirmishers. Tobi's being very overly aggressive. Just really wants to take out these flying crows, because he realizes he can't take out the skirmishers effectively with the pikes. Nice 2 trade there. A little bit of lag there going on, but it's just previous. Just a temporary lag, sorry. Flying crows getting killed. 2 remaining. Changdao snaring onto some of the culverins. Skirmishers getting snared onto some of the Ulans. Changdao's in the backline kind of getting mis-microed, but no worries. He's got so many units and so many skirmishers still alive. Also could just pretty much right-click the war wagons with the units that he has. This is pretty much all or nothing here for Feldherr Tobi. Really trying to hold on with some of these war wagons and some of these Ulans, but it's not going to be enough. The skirmishers just going to get countered by the Chinese skirmishers. Changdao now H4, of course, have insane amount of HP, 206. So that's obviously more HP than these skirmishers, and you can just imagine the hand attack that they're going to apply. 24 hand attack to these skirmishers, and at this point, just going to right-click, Ooga Booga, go for the kill everything in his nearby vicinity. Even the war wagons going down with their high HP. Cav combat, of course, affecting them, but no effect. Even the Meteor Hammers with the Iron Flails applying some splash damage, and just look at this. Look at the units that he's training behind this. So much stuff coming as a remass, and I don't think there's any chance here score-wise. Very far behind for Feldherr Tobi, losing those as well. And wow, GG being called. Very impressive game. Very, very, very cool game. GG indeed. That was a really, really cool game. In the end, Feldherr Tobi had a nice little defense there, but LukasL managed to stay composed. He managed to kind of bring it back. He lost his first initial push, but that's the great thing about these sort of strategies. H3 Spain, H4 China, H3 China. You also have follow-up. That's important when you have a strategy like this. You have to have some sort of follow-up to be able to kind of work towards winning the game. If you just go for an all-in push, it's not going to work. So you can definitely tell LukasL had follow-up. And indeed, it worked out for him very well. And China's such a great civilization. Really is. It's so beautiful. His eco is still pretty much catching up. I really want to race over to the resources real quick. Really curious to see how the resources work. Wow. So 4 water for Germany, and China's just 3k resources behind. That is so impressive. That is beyond impressive. So if anyone was going to say China S tier, based on this graph, you know, I obviously would kind of want to be neutral, but definitely eco, not bad. Not bad. Not bad for sure. Which you don't usually think. But yeah, good game. Very, very good game. Alright. That means we're moving on to a game number 5. Feldherr Tobi versus LukasL. I don't think anyone expected to see this, but Feldherr Tobi putting up a really good fight, and LukasL also just has a really good opponent, let's be real. LukasL being such a great player, but the game has changed. Upcoming talents from all across the globe looking to replace LukasL right here. Let's see. I think we've checked everything so far. I'm kind of hyped to just head into the next game. 69 villages towards the end. Just see the boom very effective, but the age up very late. And that was that first H3 push defended by Feldherr Tobi. And the rematch just so much stronger for China, but also fairly decent for needed to be faster for Germany, I think. Hi guys, give me 1 minute. I'll load up the next game for you guys. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final game of the second series of today's cast. UEC proudly presents the final matchup between LukasL and Feldherr Tobi, of course. Something you guys have probably been long awaiting. We said this was going to be a crazy series, and in this case, yeah, big shout out to USC for kind of making this a possibility. Also, big shout out to the players for just putting up such an incredible performance. And we wouldn't be able to watch these games if it wasn't for, of course, Krabgot and his team. So this is pretty insane. And I mean, wow. Game number 5. Feldherr Tobi versus LukasL. Lakota versus Hauser. I don't think it gets much better than this, ladies and gentlemen, to be honest with you. I play a lot of Lakota. I play a lot of Hauser. These are 2 of my main civilizations, something I love to play. But I mean, this is such an incredible matchup. It's almost like father and son, right? Imagine you play football, right? LukasL playing Lakota would be kind of the Wayne Rooney, whereas Feldherr Tobi with Hauser would kind of be a newer footballer, more athletic footballer, but, you know, old knowledge versus kind of less experience, basically. This is what I get, just purely based on the civilization design, not necessarily on the players. So this is going to be quite an interesting game for sure. Of course, Feldherr Tobi spawning in the top side of the map, playing as the Hauser civilization in his favorite color, yellow. Got a lot of Sangakato in his livestock market, building a granary, adding a house, standard start, also most likely going for the village dogs. And on the other side, we have Lakota, not really doing much himself. Could, of course, go for an H1 TP like Kynesie, big shot to Kynesie, but in this case, just going to get the 800 food that he needs to age up, and that is going to be it for him in terms of starting. Nice little conversion going on here from the pirate. Beautiful usage of his ability that his explorer has, converting the pirate, one of the stronger guardians to convert. You have a very strong pirate on the African maps that you can convert. I think it has like insane siege, in this case just a standard one, but also could necessarily work towards burning down potential trading posts being built later on from Hauser. And matchup wise, this is, yeah, I mean, Hauser is, in my opinion, one of the strongest civilizations, if not the strongest civilization in the game. A lot of people would disagree. A lot of people think Ethiopia take that place or other civilizations take that place like China, but I think Hauser is very strong. That's bottom line. Whether they're the strongest or not, it doesn't really matter. I don't think that's accurate anyways. But then you also look at the design, right? They have very cost-effective cavalry units like javelin riders, and you're playing against a civilization that purely makes cavalry units, right? Bow riders, strongest light range cavalry unit in this game with TPs and so on and so forth. So you can really expect to be faced up against a lot of cavalry if you're Hauser in this situation. So it can be really tricky trying to get out enough cavalry to deal with whatever Lakota throws at you. But I do believe you have better kind of momentum in H2 and H3 with your marketplace, with your shipments, with your kind of, I know a lot of people would say gimmicky cards. One of them being, I guess, the double Explorer in H1, which is a card that every single Hauser player seems to be sending in, no matter on the ladder, no matter in tournaments. Just seems like this is the meta now for Hauser. And why would you send in 2 Hauser Explorers in H1? Well, of course you can do a lot of raiding, or I guess be very annoying with these units. You can right-click villages trying to herd in stuff. And they actually do a lot of damage. I mean, that's 30 range attack. But I think majority is you get a lot of good treasures with these Explorers, and you of course get the H1 trading post, which is very important with Hauser, because you want to use the extra XP to get potential the Hauser Kingdom. So his whole build order is designed to synergize with everything, right? So the Emir and the Trading Builder enables him to go for the Hauser Kingdom and then have a shipment ready in H2 with the early TP. But then he's also building another trading post down here or up here, because he can just sell resources from his livestock market. And then if he finds a wood treasure, which I'm going to assume he did, sorry about that, and double check, didn't actually find 35 wood, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, even if you find like a small wood treasure, you can easily just sell a yak and get some wood for your second or first TP. So very easy here for him. And Feldherr Tobi picking up a 40 coin up here, whereas Lakota, I think, just picked up another treasure, also 40 coin. And now he's in a little bit of a situation if you're looking at LukasL, because he obviously wants to build a trading post himself, has 200 wood stacked up, and almost like Hauser saying, well, why don't you go for the middle trading post, my friend? Very easy access here to Hauser, right? Can easily burn this trading post. It would be a lot harder because of the cliff here if you built this over there. So I don't think Lakota has much choice but to go for the middle trading post, and it's almost like taking the smaller sausage in the English breakfast. That's what it feels like. So gathering a lot of wood in transition, almost indicating that he's going to go for war at start, because usually you don't chop this much wood, but also see a forward villager being sent. So yeah, most likely we'll add that war hut. Interesting start. I feel like that's definitely a good way to open this game when you're playing against Hauser. And be very aggressive early on, but you also have to be mindful that Fulani are good, Javelin Riders are good, H2 Lafidi are possible, and Raiders have multipliers against infantry units. We do see the ward being placed, but also have to imagine he's building this ward with a single villager, and he's already aging up. This ward could have already been built, and he could already be training units. So really have to kind of question the choice here from LukasL. Like, what is he deciding to do? And I've seen him do the strategy against Ungus, and what he likes to do with the strategy, he usually likes to go for Stagecoach behind. So he likes to go for an aggressive ward and then Stagecoach behind. He's going to spend most of his time burning down these trading posts. But you know, Hauser can play H2 all day. It's going to be quite a hard game here for LukasL. I'm really, really scared for him. There's anyone that can do it, it would be him. One of his best civilizations, might I add. Feldherr Tobi, of course, not wasting any time right now with his best civilization, I would believe. One of the civilizations that got him to a high, high level and the opportunity to play against some of these great players and beat them even. Really good job on his behalf. University being built as the 3 goats, I guess, picked up from the map or a treasure. Not quite sure where those gates came from. And the Hauser builder coming in as well, but actually getting blocked by the wood crates. Actually didn't even send in the Hauser Kingdom, so didn't have enough XP to send it. Now sending the Palace of Amina. And then I guess this is just from his age up from the Hauser. So not the best start here from Feldherr Tobi, but check out the scouting. Obviously scouted the ward, maybe just realizing that he can't necessarily send in the Hauser Kingdom. Too greedy. Instead gonna send in the Palace, build his ward very defensively. Wonder if he's gonna straight away train Fulani's. Javelin Riders getting his snares. Actually is training Fulani. Don't even know where to look. I don't even know where to look right now. So much going on. I'm so hyped for this game. I just don't know what's gonna happen. And the thing I do see is that this university hasn't been finished. So I think both players might just be exhausted or nervous. I'm not quite sure, but it seems very questionable from both sides. I mean, you have to imagine after playing so many hectic games. And the house is definitely the hardest civilization to play, in my opinion. You have so much to do. And it's such a struggle. Like, your builder needs to be on point. And now already, losing a villager. Palace can't actually build for some reason. Oh, because the Palace builder hasn't been there. Nice distraction there with the Axe Riders. Emir's trying to do some damage to the Axe Riders. Axe Riders also killing some vills, killing some Fulani, actually. Nice back on the side of LukasL. Taking out the Fulani, taking out a full batch, almost. Has to go back. A single pikeman being spawned from the house, but the Emir does go down. So both sides doing a really good job at trying to get the best trades here, but I think that was okay for LukasL for sure. Delaying the timing, idling the TC. Also forcing some influence to be trained from these houses. So if you're wondering where these levied spearmen came from, they were trained from the huts. They 35 influence or something, 10 influence. 65, and in the backline, he also trained a batch of 5 clubs just to take down this TP in the meantime. So sending in those 4 Axe Riders, following up with some clubs. Now she's sending in the Chetan as well, if I saw correctly. Yeah, sending in 6 Chetan. Really aggressive play here, but wow, look at the mass already from LukasL. This is insane. He really doesn't want to hold back on this push. Really trying to do the most, and this is exactly how I felt like you need to play against Hauser. When I played this matchup earlier, I had the same feeling. It doesn't necessarily make sense because Hauser's a civilization that have some of their strongest peaks in H2. But it's similar to playing against Japan if you think about it, right? Japan also have their strongest peaks in H2 sometimes, or can have good peaks in H2. But they struggle very early on because they're doing so much stuff. They're building wards, they're building universities, palaces, TPs. You can really punish them, and you can see the punishment coming in here for LukasL. And the more he idles, the more villages he kills, the more he kind of pushes his opponent to stay in his base and just kill his infrastructure. He's going to be in an okay position, could even age behind this with the Wise Woman, get the Bison, and just be ahead in terms of eco as well. She's not sending the clubs, so no 5 vills going full out, but there's going to be some sort of limit here to how much he can push. The palace is obviously there in front of his face. Bolanis, of course, have better fire animation versus these Chetan, but the Chetan have more damage, I think. 15 range attack versus 18 range attack. Fulani attack twice as fast. Oh, no, never mind. So, yeah, Chetan have more damage. So, yeah, Chetan actually going to hold up against these Fulanis really well. And as a result, Fulani's being pushed back, and the palace with 3,500 HP is going to be under fire. Really nice play, kind of reminding me of an India game here. I guess when you have similar unit strength for these Fulanis and also great timing, you're able to do this, but because they're definitely losing a lot of units, there's no question, and for what really? And Dervish now popping out. Dervish have really fast rate of fire, but the Axe Riders are still there. Axe Riders obviously going to have multipliers or good damage against the Sudanese Dervish, but they're low HP. Also have to imagine Dervish have multipliers against heavy infantry, but the palace does go down, but you have to question yourself. That palace was gifted to Feldherr Tobi for free with his card in H2, right? So it's like the biggest bait there. you kill the palace, but what does Hauser really lose if you think about it? It's not like an aggro, a one-time thing. He could just rebuild that literally. Look at Hauser. He could literally sell one yak for 300 coin and build it again. And then what do you do? And then his units are going to get stronger, but he will eventually be starved out potentially. And maybe that's the goal here for LukasL. To kind of sustain himself and establish map dominance. Keep his opponent in his base, realizing that hunts will be an issue here, especially seeing as there's only 3 Guanaco hunts on the side of Feldherr Tobi. I guess this one as well is the 4th one. This feels like Lakota very vulnerable at this point. Due to LukasL, what the follow-up is. I mean, going for a very strong all-in push, has a single TP, hasn't sent in the 5 vills, is on 24 vills. I'm sending these 700 wood, sending pretty much all military shipments they could send. Actually was sending in the dog soldiers, but decided to cancel it. But I just think Hauser is just really gonna scale from here. That's what I think. I think this is what Hauser just loves to do. They want you to push you. They want you to push them. So there's another shipment ready. Also have to keep in mind he actually didn't send in the 4 villages, so he also wasted sending those Sudanese dervish, but the yaks are there. Kingdom Builder, as you can see here, just going up, as we said before, and almost like it never happened. Second training post going down. Wonder if Feldherr Tobi is going to try and age here with this palace. I think he could. He's got enough units. I think he could just literally eat these yaks and age up. Look at this. Sangakatu on 500 food or 400 food almost. Maybe deciding to push. I mean, if he decides to push, this could be really bad. A lot of people get overconfident, decide to push and throw away their lead. But he's just going with the Javelin Riders. Nice move for sure. We'll be able to actually raid some villages with the emirs. TP does go down. To LukasL. Chetan trying to get some volleys off on some of these Javelin Riders. Could also play some TPs and just hold this position next to the TP line. It'll be really hard for Hauser to push. You have to keep in mind, we always forget about some of the bonuses that Lakota have. Of course, being the old school civilization. Kind of forget that they're very funky as well. They have something that no other civilization have. Being able to build TPs for, I think, 60, 70 wood. Giving a 10% HP bonus for each TP. And can also be applied from cards, which increase their attack as well. 5 villagers coming in for LukasL. 27 vills for him. Feldherr Tobi is on 21 vills. And these are bad 21 vills. And the reason why I say these are bad 21 vills is because he didn't send in H1 Palaku code. There's no 15% extra resource gathering on all resources. So eco-wise, you could actually maybe say LukasL was in a very good spot, especially now that he's going for potential stagecoach, if I saw correctly. I'd say he's a good 15%, 20% ahead, maybe more with that stagecoach coming in. Hard to kind of establish, seeing as we haven't seen these yaks being sold yet. As soon as these yaks get sold, it's going to be a different story. Or even eaten. So Hauser did send in the 700 influence as his last shipment. And now he's training griots from his university. And of course, with those griots, he's going to be able to slow most of his units. Opponent's units. But I don't think LukasL's too bummed out about that. I think he's pretty much in a good position. Still feels a little bit vulnerable, but he still has those TPs accessible to him. And Stagecoach coming in at a very decent timing. Maybe could save up for the... So I think he has 2 options here, right? He could play full H2 and just wait until he kind of just has established himself with the TPs in the middle of the map and then eventually go H3 like in a lot of minutes. Or he could risk sending in 700 coin now with the Stagecoach and go H3. But I think that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to push and then H behind. Is it going to work? That's the real question. No sort of melee cav here from Hauser to snout at these Chetans. So they're going to have really good time here. Just trying to buy himself time. Doesn't want Hauser to push him whilst he's aging. So he's going to make sure Hauser knows his place, basically. Really smart move here from LukasL. Really smart move. And 700 coin following behind this. Nice play by him. But timing-wise, oh, it feels very bad, though. It feels very risky. Feldherr Tobi not really doing anything. But guess what? He's going H3 himself. Interesting. It's going to be worth it, though. Moroccans might just be... That's 600 XP that he's going to have gifted towards him. And a shipment is already ready in H2. There's going to be 3 shipments almost that he will be sending in H3. 5 Lifidi, 8 Javelins. And he almost has 1k influence. Imagine Mamelukes. Oh my lordy lord. That could be huge if he sends in the center horseman with some griots. It's like in the first matchup that we saw. Yeah, LukasL being very aggressive here. Almost too aggressive. Could lose his entire mass if those Javelin Riders were Raiders instead of what they are. Would have been a different story. Would have been able to surround him, but maybe LukasL realizing that his opponent's going H3 as well, so he can be even more aggressive, and the experience coming in. And I guess a syndrome that a lot of professional players have is the overconfidence, right? A lot of players win games and get to their rank because of their confidence, but it can also be a curse at the same time, right? You can overextend, you feel like you're winning too much. Just look at the trades right now. He's losing so many units for Palace. Once again, it's not going to be worth it. He's losing half his mass, but maybe trying to snipe some of these Dervish, enable him to train Bow Riders. I don't know. Feels like Dervish, of course, is going to be very hard, and now the H3 obviously coming in faster than his opponent, getting the fast H. But here's the real fight right now. Feldherr Tobi needs to make sure he gathers his crates, doesn't lose his Mosque Wagon, doesn't lose his army, doesn't kind of crumble to the pressure. And the pressure is really hard right now for Feldherr Tobi. Also because LukasL plays Aztecs, right? So he knows everything about kind of distracting his opponent with warfare and then burning down buildings behind. But what is he doing? He's going for the full suicide right here. Is it going to be worth it? That's a real question. The Javelin Riders on a huge mass. The Grid's on a huge mass as well. He's just going to charge and take this fight. But maybe he just wants to wipe out most of the units and realize that later on he's going to have no food and the remass is going to be better for Lakota with the Stagecoach. Maybe. But it feels like it's almost a too much full suicide here for it to be a thing. I don't know about that. I think that was too much of a delete indeed. A lot of war cries on the side of Hauser. Oh, victory indeed. And I think now what this is essentially done here for Hauser is enabled him to maybe get a really nice H3 push going. And you can see maybe Feldherr Tobi rushing to send in units. Sending in these 15 Sudanese Dervish. Obviously seeing the Bow Riders being trained from LukasL. And then behind that, sending in more Greers and 5 Vills. Oh my god, LukasL didn't age. Oh no, he didn't even age. He completely stayed in H2. I thought he was aging. No way. So he actually trained those Bow Riders just to go for the push, but that was the worst move he could have done. Now he's in a real big situation. I mean, as soon as Feldherr Tobi sees this, he's gonna just be like, what? You're still in H2? Oh no. So the Stagecoach ready and no food available for Feldherr Tobi, but I don't think he's gonna care. Eating the yaks now, eating the fully fattened sheep. He's gonna have a really strong push, for sure. Maybe see the card selection here for LukasL. Send in the 5 Vills. Send in the 700 wood into the 700 coin eventually. Pretty much every unit shipment he could send in H2, apart from the dog soldiers. No attack cards on his units. So I think if he wanted to win this H2 versus H3, the only chance would be to make Bow Riders like fully masked up and spam cards on them. But he'd need another additional card to make that work, I think. But you've seen it happen before, but I don't know, maybe it's okay for him. I think he's definitely kind of terrorized the base of Hauser. So Hauser's just waiting a long time here. Waiting almost too long. And he has no plans to push. Right? I mean, look at the army mass of Hauser right now versus the army of Lakota. I mean, it's ridiculous, the difference. And the strength with the grids. I mean, Feldherr Tobi could literally just go AFK and just right-click everything. But, I mean, if he waits any longer, it's all about the deception, right? And I think LukasL's done a really good job at kind of deceiving his opponent. Leading him on to believe something. But he needed to sneak in that H3 and maybe hold this with the Stagecoach, right? Buy some time with the Stagecoach, sending the Wakina, training more Wakina. He's got a lot of units or villagers on food. Maybe could go for big button, but I don't think it's going to be good. Obviously, he has a lot of Javelin Riders to face up against. He needs to trim down those numbers. Also has the TPs, which he's kind of now building next to the ward. Could establish himself in the middle of the map, and that's just the thing with Lakota. It's not Aztec, is it? It's a lot better when it comes to defending their base. With the TPs, of course. Oh no, LukasL in German saying Alter die Mass. Basically, what he said in German is, what the fuck is that mass? Basically. Still feel like it's okay here for LukasL. That's just a great thing here for LukasL. Yeah, for LukasL with the TPs, he can just hold his ground, buy himself time. Tobi just sees the TPs and backs off once again, just being so passive. And this is the fastest way to lose the game. I guess just waiting for something. More Javelin Riders on the way. I guess he can also expand for food over here. Now we see the full fight breaking out. LukasL not actually dancing at the moment. Hasn't got a community plaza up. Dervish trying to get some trades off with the grids, but Funny thing, I'm gonna actually take credit for this. I'm gonna take credit for Feldherr Tobi being very passive. I played a game against him where I went Turtur Lakota. I built a lot of TPs in my base, and he didn't push my base. And he felt the full strength of those TPs. So if LukasL managed to win this game, I want 15% of the prize pool. I take credit, full credit. I remember playing an exact game, but he was playing Germany instead of Hauser, so it might be a little bit different here. Nice raid coming out on these side of Hauser. Taking out 3 vills. Very nice play here by Feldherr Tobi, just realizing he doesn't want to push into TP, so maybe just take a different approach. No one's forcing him to push into TPs, right? It's something that made people believe, and he could win this fight. He could actually just stand still and take out these bow riders. They haven't been upgraded, no cav combat, nothing. Wakina's out of position. Also, just resource delete would be great here. He needs to kind of take some good trades until those Wakinas show up, but half of his units aren't fighting, which is very unfortunate. So these bow riders still getting a good trade. Could also finish this bow rider. Cav combat most likely going to be the second shipment. Everything else that he could potentially send in is just not good, but now the Wakina getting even better trade and just, I mean, win after win coming in for LukasL. I mean, defending the middle of the map, taking good trades, just way too passive here from Feldherr Tobi. I mean, he could literally just go and fight this. But he needs to make sure he has maybe a third unit composition in terms of cavalry unit. I think Lifidi would be so good for snaring, especially in an open field like that. He could just absolutely crush that. No questions asked. Cav combat now being sent here on the side of LukasL, also dancing for his explorer back from the community plaza with 8 villagers. As his herd available to him, hasn't sent in Great Hunter, doesn't have Great Hunter in his deck, also doesn't have any late TP cards, which you see Irish have, which makes his Lakota pretty much insane. The scaling is not going to be the best for Lakota, but still is going to be decent. Feldherr Tobi doesn't feel comfortable. Just really doesn't feel comfortable. He's just scared. I mean, 44 Javelin Riders. And he probably has the upgrade card on them as well. Or maybe that's what he's waiting for. 15% hit points on these Javelin Riders. And he even has the Dervish as well to take out the Bow Riders and the Griots. I mean, there's no question about this. And the longer he waits, the worse it's going to get. The reason why is because when Lakota is similar to China in terms of Death Ball, right? Eventually, Lakota is going to have a Death Ball as well, which is going to be near impossible to kill. And then he also has a Stagecoach, which is pretty much uncontested. Sending the 1k influence. Building a second war camp. More houses. As LukasL just training more bow riders. Really just not kind of deterring far away from any of these TPs in the middle of the map. This is a safe spot right here. The beautiful tree line in the middle with the TPs behind. He needs to be careful though. Slowly starting to push out of his base. He sees his score go up, so he realizes he's ahead in eco. 43 vills for him and Stagecoach. So 5 vills and Stagecoach. But I think the eco is pretty similar actually. Would of course be way ahead for Hauser if he had those cards sent in, as well as Stagecoach not be a thing. The Bow Rider mass really starting to take shape. Actually deleting these TPs. But there's a huge build limit on these TPs. I don't think he reached that build limit yet, but maybe wants a better positioning on them. A little bit of a calm before the storm here. Check out some of the yaks here. So selling a lot of yaks on the side of Feldherr Tobi. Maybe you can see the strength, of course. When you actually use the yaks, you need them to keep your economic intact. But then you also have the influence that he's now using to buy kingdom builders. So we talked about this in the first game, the bread and the butter. So that's like Inca double town centers right now. I'm actually using it to make a palace and a TC. Nice move. Slowly starting to move forward. Of course, we'll get that economic bonus from the second TC. Maybe scale in terms of villages now that he's not far behind. As soon as LukasL gets the second cav upgrade on his bow riders and some more bow riders, I think he's going to be able to go. But I'm not going to say he's going to win the fight. That's the real question. I think it's very hard to win a fight. It's going to be very hard to clean this. This unit composition is going to be extremely hard to clean this. I think the only way would be to mass up an insane amount of bow riders with all effects on them. That's the only way, I think. Maybe just get down some of these Fulani archers. Realistically, what he wants to focus is the Javelin Riders, but they're in a really good position for Feldherr Tobi. Can't really get close to the Javelin Riders, so it's going to just be the Falanis, which isn't bad either. Dervish, of course, have multipliers against Bow Riders as well, but I think Bow Riders win against all of those units with the cards and then a huge mass and War Dance and the Explorer. It's a long way away. Big stalemate in the middle here. Just no civilization could really go. So Hauser can't really push into the TPs, but maybe he can with the Griots. He just doesn't know, right? He's not sure if it's going to work. He's like, okay, my army's OP, but how OP? Whereas Lakota, his army's very OP, but in a defensive posture. That's pretty much exactly what's going on right now. So trying to take some good trades with the Wakina, of course. Have more range, usually, than these Falanis, but the Falanis can be upgraded. Have really high range. Nice raiding here by LukasL. This is probably exactly what he needs to do when the military in the middle of the map doesn't really work, and they shut down his eco. Really good play by him. 8 Bow Riders can single-handedly kill a single villager, but when they're upgraded, I think it's less. Forcing an entire migration or kind of a entire movement of his army, and this could be a moment here. Kind of go for a fight if you're LukasL. On the half of his army is distracted by 4 Bow Riders. That's pretty good. Shipment-wise, sending in the 9 Wakinas, the CCs, the cavalry combat, and not sending in the 1k wood, not sending in anything else, just going straight for the 2nd cav upgrade, which is what he needs. Oh, nice snipe on some of these grids. Oh my god, look at the stun damage on these Wakina. I'm not sure if that's a replay bug or if that was actually like an 8 stun right there. Feldherr Tobi sending in the Cannoneers, waiting for those to pop, but feels like he's just missing every timing, or he's missed every timing so far, maybe due to the push of LukasL, so it's kind of like, it's weird. Just gonna pretty much dog on some of these Dervish and these Falanis, and the Cannoneers, of course, they'll have effect, but it's not gonna be a permanent thing, is it? But slight overextension here from LukasL. I'm glad he didn't actually push higher, but actually gonna go back just to snipe some of these Cannoneers, realize, oh my god, the damage on these Wakina is insane. Cannoneers come and it's game over. Maybe this is the time here for Feldherr Tobi to decide to push. He feels strong. It's now or never. Not really got much follow-up behind this. He's actually training Lafidi behind this, so this could be huge. You just have to imagine the Bow Riders with double cards and TPs. And also in the open field. If LukasL remembers to make TPs here and also dance, it's going to be huge for him, but he's dancing with 1 villager. 0 villagers, no TPs being added. His army's going to get absolutely destroyed. Half his Bow Riders aren't fighting, trying to add TPs. Lafidi on the follow line, on the follow-up. Pure Dervish snared onto pure Bow Riders. They're going to have faster rate of fire against these. Oh, wow. Never mind. Look at the turn right now with the TPs being added. Completely switching the fight, but a lot of units going down. The remass isn't going to be as crazy for Lakota, I would believe. But maybe he doesn't need the remass if he managed to hold his ground, build additional TPs, have more units, has a shipment ready, but losing most of his Bow Rider mass. Such a hard fight to kind of cast, but the TP kind of acting as a nice choke, snaring or leaving a lot of these exposed Dervish with the Bow Riders to fire upon. And the Wakina just doing so much work there. Wow. If we were looking at the battle of the OP right now, I think Lakota wins this. Lakota just showing Hauser who his real daddy is. Wow, wow, wow. And that wasn't even the best fight for Lakota. You have to imagine, he wasn't even dancing with any vills, by the way. He, literally, I would assume. In the start of that fight, he wasn't dancing with a single villager. And he was still able to hold that with a few TPs and double cards. Very impressive. So you can just see, like, strength is there for both sides. But now needs to be careful on the offensive, because fighting underneath the palace could mean a lot of units could pop out. So there's Lafidi earlier, but I'm not sure where the Yasuos, the Javelin Riders, are alive. Rotating his entire army to defend against those few Bow-Riders that were raiding. That's horrible, because now all of the Dervish are going to go down. The remaining Greece are going to go down. The Lafidi are going to have no effect versus a pure Bow-Rider mass. And all of the units are getting sniped. And will it be enough here? Could actually dance now. 2 villagers on the war dance. He needs to dance. He needs to make sure he wins this fight, but not dancing. Bow-Riders trying to do the most. Javelin Riders trying to also win this fight, but few Greers making 2-2 sounds. Cannoneers also now at a 0. Ono is going to win this. A lot of Wakina alive for LukasL, of course, could snipe down some of these Javelin Riders with the Bow Riders in the front line to do the additional damage, and scores are very close at this point. And now you have to ask yourself, what is going to happen in terms of resources, because there's no resources on the map. The last remaining hunt is on Hauser's side. That means he's going to have a nice little remass, whereas LukasL fully establishing himself on Mills, or trying to anyways. Could send in the Bison. I think if he really wanted to make this work, he'd send in the Bison. If he's trying to get a few cracks off on some of these Wakina. Bird is alive, taking out the Palace. TC could maybe fall, but the remass literally 0 right now, has a shipment ready, and maybe he could stack up for the big button, or he could send in a 1k resource shipment. Nice pullback on those Bow Riders, trying to keep them alive, trying to do some damage to the Wakina. He has more Wakina than he has Bow Riders. Needs to keep the Bow Riders alive, because of any potential defeated that could pop. Wakina's so clutch right now, doing so much damage, and now finally dancing with 19 villagers. Now you can see the damage output. Now you can see the Wakina actually doing what they're supposed to do with the Bow Riders. The Bow Riders that were raiding earlier also doing some damage to the Grids and taking out the Javelin Riders. The Emir also going down, that was just about to respawn, and at this point, both hunts under heavy fire. No food available for Hauser. The TC is going to go down. Villagers in the TC as well, 3 in total. Every single unit being wiped from Hauser, pretty much. And in terms of resources, can only sell 500 coin or 375 wood, so not really gonna help him. He needs food at this point. 43 vills available to him, and could also just do the siege dance now if you're LukasL. And I think this is gonna be a GG for LukasL, but we're gonna have to see. Stabilizing himself well on those farms, getting his Explorer back. Nice little move there, because this Explorer has a huge amount of HP. I guess now he's being affected, but definitely the key unit there. Increasing the speed as well for these Bow Riders and these Wakinas. His remass so bad. Just look at his eco, is terrible right now. Just needs to make sure he doesn't get trapped. Just needs to shut down these hunts. Very exposed. This would be the prime location for LukasL, and he even knows about this, right? He sees this on his map. It just isn't heading to... That would be the GG bottom right here, I'm pretty sure. Also have to imagine those raids that he did earlier kind of helping out. Dog Soldiers now coming in as well. More Boarders being trained. Only 5, or only 2, sorry. Palace is buying time here for Hauser, but he has the siege down, so gonna get wrecked really fast. More Greens being trained, more Javelins being trained. For Lonnie's also out on the field. Feldherr Tobi having to actually resort to making farms. So just worst time for him to get pushed. Having to switch onto agriculture. Can't really remass. His eco's dead. Doesn't have water to kind of take effect from. Dog Soldiers now coming in, and at this point, just the right amount of units, just the right amount of kind of time to make this push work, and also just the right amount of Wakinas to kind of shut down those Javelin Riders and assist those Bow Riders. Also sending the Cav HP in that last fight as well. Now with the Dog Soldiers coming in, probably could shut down these Grids as well. Burning down universities, burning down the palace in record time. Oh, you can just see these Grids doing so much work, staying alive for so long. They also have a 10% range resist. Now what LukasL really needs to make sure he needs to make sure he doesn't lose too many units, right? Because... Oh, wow. So wie du nicht weißt, was man gegen Hauser macht, weiß ich nicht, was man gegen diese Tippis macht. He says, just like LukasL doesn't know how to deal with Hauser, he doesn't know how to deal with Lakota. And that is the last word of that final game. GG, Lakota, the Big Don versus Hauser. What a game. 5 games in total that we watched. And the last game was a perfect matchup. You could see the strength on both sides. And in the end, the German player wins, which is pretty much what everyone cares about. Just want to see home country do proud in this tournament, and LukasL advancing to the next series. And I'm sure he's going to do every person in the German community proud. What a good game. What an interesting series. What a back and forth. What a nice civ selection. Not really something you see. These players just have such an individual style. They like to go for semi-strats or semi-FF strats with Germany and other civilizations. But in this case, they're not scared to play native civs or African civs and kind of show their strength. And wow, that was an incredible series to watch. Incredible series to cast. And my God, I'm a proud Lakota player after that game. I'll tell you that much. Because they're making us all proud. But yeah, it was a struggle to get there, though. It was a struggle. That was scary at one point. Cool game. GG indeed. And LukasL, congratulations for advancing to the next round. 3-2 right now for LukasL. I'm just going to update their score before we head into the post game. Here we go. Wow, what a game. That was cool. That was really, really cool. That's inspiring for a lot of people, and resource-wise, you can actually see LukasL's ahead with the Stagecoach just by 2k, but without the Stagecoach, you would have wondered how it would have looked. But then you could have sent in Great Hunter, for example, so you definitely need some sort of economic bonus with Lakota. Bow Riders holding their own with the TPs, not even the war dance. You can just see the strength is insane. Very strong civ at this given time. Experience also ahead here for LukasL. I kind of reached the juicy part. Getting a huge raid there. So that was the Javelin Riders raiding all of those vills, actually deleting 5 vills. Wow. But then huge raid here from the Bow Riders, which we saw on the top side of the map, multiple raids. So during that entire fight, he was raiding with those Bow Riders. Something you see a lot of good players do. They stretch you in the middle of the map and they position their units to raid you. So even if they lose the fight, they win after in terms of economic standpoint. Military units. This actually ahead. Wow. This is population. Okay, so you can see the strength difference in the terms of military unit population. So you could this is kind of how you'd look at mercenaries, right? So 150 unit population, you can just see double the strength of Hauser. Hauser needed like double more army, basically. And then also the timeline in terms of resources. I mean, interesting game. We have one of the strongest Hauser players play against one of the better Lakota players, or one of the best Lakota players. I feel like it's safe to say. He plays Lakota in pretty much most of the tournaments we see him. And we see Hauser lose. Kind of says something about Lakota's strength and something about Hauser's strength, doesn't it? But interesting one, interesting one. Not a yeah, hopefully they don't nerf Lakota or anything. But yeah, once again, thank you so much, guys, for joining, for bearing with me. So all of these series, I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot. I just wanted to cast some games. Kind of hadn't casted a game in such a long time, so I'm getting feel rusty a little bit. So I just kind of wanted to hop on, cast some games, and see what we had in store. I could cast the next series. Energy-wise, I feel like it would be okay. It wouldn't be the best series, I can't lie, because I'm losing my voice. But I also realize it's quite late. So I'm going to probably leave that up to someone tomorrow, or cast it. Yeah, or cast it tomorrow myself, if that's okay. But yeah, I see some nice messages in the chat. Feldherr Tobi, big shout out to you. Well played, my friend. Also think it's quite late for a lot of people as well. I'm not sure where you guys are located, but big shout out to Germany, big shout out to Swisher Guts, big shout out to Passy, big shout out to Harrison, everyone proud in the chat. Big shout out to Lionheart as well. Thank you so much, Remhoke. Have a great night, my friend. Feldherr Tobi saying, GG's, I'm glad that I could give a good challenge and exciting fights to Lucas. That's all I hope for. He is a better for sure and deserves the win. That is so kind, man. That is so nice. South Africa World Cup all over again. Alright, guys, I'm probably going to go to bed myself or work on some stuff, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Once again, big shout out to UEC. Thank you so much for making this tournament a thing. If you guys want to support, follow our Discord. Links are in the chat, I'm sure. Also in the info box as well. And yeah, thank you for everyone who's a part of this tournament. And I'll see you guys real soon. Bye-bye. Shout out to SimSimiX as well.